first because it's like a 10-second thing. So we've only got 5. Who's here for fracking? Why are you all here? Actually, never mind. We'll find out. We'll find out.
Why not? You're here.
All right. So, well, if you're mostly here for the village meeting, we'll get to that as soon as we possibly can. We do have 2 public hearings that we have to get taken care of before the joint meeting, but they're very quick and boring. I don't think anyone here is going to say a word about them. Okay. Well, the supervisor will. And whenever is a camera, are we ready to go? And Katie, are you about set?
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of New Paltz on February 12th, 2014 at 7:30 p.m. regarding the annexation petition submitted by Richard Cusano and Charles Wortman with respect to the real property owned by Dean Van Tassel, known as 152 Route 32, New Paltz, New York, tax map identification number 78.20-4-7, in order for said parcel to be annexed from the town of New Paltz into the Village of New Paltz.
Is there anyone here to speak to this issue? Is this anyone? Anyone? Susan, yes, please.
Today when I was researching the town's role in annexation, when something's being annexed to the village, independent of this particular project, what I came to be told was that according to General Municipal Law Section 703, that the town board and the village board need to publish once in the official newspaper and mail such notice to all persons owning real property within the territory to be annexed, and all persons residing within such territory qualified to vote for office of the town of New Paltz. At the time of the public hearing, the members of the participating boards shall agree on the selection of one of their members to preside in such meeting, and in the event that no such agreement is reached, the presiding member shall be chosen by a lot. It goes on a little bit more about that, but basically, in essence, what I was told was that a public hearing, when it has to do regarding the Van Tassel annexation, the 2 boards are not holding, basically the 2 boards have to hold a notice of a joint public hearing, and the notice should be signed by both clerks for the public hearing. So from what I'm being told by the town attorney, in order to do an annexation hearing, it's got to be done by both boards, held by both boards, noticed by both boards, and I gather that's what these boards did with the annexation of Floyd Mifflin. So
not simultaneously, sequentially.
Okay, well, this is what I was just told by the attorney today, that, so if you might just want to...
Katie, could you just make a note to check with Will, so that, and if he has a disagreement, just call Joe Moriello directly?
Please.
Because in the past, we've done them sequentially. The village will do it, then the town will do it.
Well, all I'm saying is that it says according to the state law that there's supposed to be a joint public hearing on proposed annexation, and that it's supposed to be noticed by the 2 clerks signing off on it. So it was just sent, like again, I said I was really researching annexation for another conversation tonight, but this was sent to me, about tonight. So I'm just bringing that to the attention to make sure that it is being done appropriately.
Oh, that's why we have lawyers. We'll see what they say. Any other comments on, just so you know, for clarity in the camera, the parcel in question is the far northern part of the village, 32 North, just around Bosse's. Mr. Cusano owns a property already on the west side, and he's bought a property on the other side of the street, which is half in the town, half in the village, so he's looking to annex it so the entire parcel is in the village. That's the gist of the issue.
And just one other comment. I did ask the neighbor of this property if they had been noticed, and they told me they hadn't. So.
Okay, thank you. Well, should we close? We should probably hold it open or close it. What should we do? Close it?
I think we should hold it open
until we have legal opinion that is confirming or affirming the legal opinion that we received in order for this hearing to be done. So I moved to hold it open.
And if memory serves me too, with the Niffin, we did have a joint meeting on that when we annexed it. So
for all of our time, I think.
Unfortunately, not mine, though. Or fortunately, it was during my tenure, and during the Niffin, we did hold a joint meeting and agreed to it.
Okay.
I think that was actually, it started, I'm going to believe, under Tony Hokinson.
Well, we'll find out. Yeah, we'll find out. So I'll second Sally's motion to keep things moving. Is there any objection? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. so held up until our next meeting, 7:30 or whenever. All right, Katie, would you read the next notice?
Please take notice that a public hearing will be held by the Board of Trustees of the Village of New Paltz at Village Hall on February 12, 2014, immediately following the first public hearing of the evening, which begins at 7:30 p.m., regarding the adoption of a local law of the Village of New Paltz for the year 2014 for the 2014-2015 fiscal year, which would override General Municipal Law Section 3-C, which requires that all local municipalities cap their allowable tax levy growth at the lesser of 2% or the rate of inflation defined as the average monthly national consumer price index calculated by the U.S. Labor Department for a 12-month period ending 6 months prior to the start of the fiscal year.
Okay. And just the purpose of this local law is that, as you all know, there's a tax cap of 2%, but you can go over 2% as long as you pass a law allowing yourself to do so. So we can talk about whether it's a good law or not later. So what we do every at the beginning of every budget cycle, as the village is entering now, is we pass this law just in case, by some necessity, we have to go over 2%, so we don't get stuck. So is there anyone here to speak to this?
But in fairness, I will say that since we've been doing this, the mayor has never proposed a budget that required 2%.
Right. It's an emergency door instead of that. Yeah, I saw a hand from the public, and then you guys. John?
Well, with that said, I will refrain from saying anything.
And I don't intend to introduce a budget that goes over 2% this year either. So, yeah. Dan?
Tennis, thank you.
And I understand that, but I was wondering, and maybe someone knows this better than I do, isn't there an incentive from the governor's office now for taxing entities that all remain under the tax cap?
It's the first I've heard of it. If you know of anything, let me know.
It's a proposal by the governor with his tax freeze, that his tax freeze, if community stays under the tax freeze, under the 2%, that people whose taxes go, the difference between last year and this year will be rebated by the state. The next year, the same thing's in place, but you have to then prove shared services, and then third year it goes from there. It's in his proposed budget. It has not gone through the legislature. It has not been adopted, but for the moment it's on the table.
Okay. I appreciate that.
Well,
Do you know if that applies just in terms of whether or not we don't go over, or if we pass this law?
no, you
Then-
have to stay under the 2% cap.
Right, but I'm saying, does this law
and that's
affect
why I'm
it?
following up.
Or just, because we've never gone over the 2% cap, but if we do that, would we still be eligible? Or if we pass this law, does that make us ineligible?
No. Passing the law has no. Passing
Okay.
the law is giving you the ability to go over the 2% cap if you should be, and his budget gets approved and adopted by the legislature. You will not be eligible. Your residents who are getting.
But not because we passed the law, because we go over it. That's my question.
Yes,
Got
it
it.
has nothing to do with the actual.
Just checking.
No, that was the purpose of me bringing that up.
Exactly. That's why I figured you were bringing it up.
But I
Thank you,
think
Dan.
I'd like to comment on what Dan brought up, because there are a lot of things facing the community of New Paltz, and I say the community because it involves both the town and village. It is going to potentially take a lot of land off the tax rolls in terms of exemptions, and the town particularly, and the village indirectly, might have a hard time keeping within the 2%. So that needs to be said too. Sure.
All right. Anyone else? Then I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And we'll be adding action on this to the agenda
To the
later at the
agenda.
village board section. All right, Chairman Olson, would you mind, actually, is it all right if we do presentations of certificates?
Yeah, but you stand and do the pledge first. You want to even do.
Might as well do the pledge, yeah. Would you all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I think I said livery by accident. Livery for all. Chairman Olson, where did you go? All right, there we go.
Thank you kindly for letting us go. I promise to be very brief. I'd like to thank you for giving us the time. I'd like to thank my colleagues on the Historic Preservation Commission for coming out in numbers. And very briefly to say to the camera and to the audience and to the joint board, this is the 4th year that the Historic Preservation Commission of the Village has offered what we call Partners in Preservation certificates. Some familiar names from years past are some of our better citizens in terms of keeping up their buildings or improving them. You will recognize P&Gs from this list, Isabella's, both treasures, and Isabella's on Main, the cafeteria, Horse Feathers on North Chestnut, Westwood Roots and Bounds. That's not a complete list, but it'll give you an idea of some of the business owners and property owners in the village who've made a particular effort to maintain their structures in marvelous shape. It's our distinct pleasure to honor and recognize people who do that. Also to point out that these are not properties that are landmarked. These are sort of outside the sphere of formal landmarking. But we recognize that sometimes doing the right thing to a structure bites a little more deeply into the pocketbook, might take a little bit longer, takes sacrifices, and we want to reward that wherever we can. So tonight we have 2 recipients. And they are, in this order, Augusta Yearwood. Please come up with us. They have a nice framed certificate. Well in this community, but let me take 30 seconds to point out what an absolute miracle you work on. Let's face it, a very distressed piece of property now looks like a wonderful, thriving business with a really interesting and creative business model. And we're just so delighted for what you've done to your structure, what you've done to North Front Street's streetscape, and we wish you all the best in business and in keeping up your property.
Well, thank you so much. Wow, well, it's I think just about 2.5 years ago that I was here begging to get my special use permit.
And that makes it all this stress totally worth it.
Actually, yeah. When you told me this was on February 12th, I was like, oh, it's one of my busiest days of the year.
Thinking chocolate, we're thinking exterior.
There's some work to do on the building, so we really just took off siding. It's amazing what that can do.
Put a pink picture a lot.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. New boss.
Thank you. Our second comes from the other side of the village. It is going out to the State University of New Paltz, of New York at New Paltz. Probably heard of the place. And specifically, what we're commending the college for doing is an extremely historically sensitive renovation of the old main building. A building that, when I came to campus 16 years ago, was not doing very well inside or out. And the college made the decision to spend more money, to be more cautious and more careful with the renovation of the building. And the result is beautiful. And I want to point out this suggestion came from my colleagues on the Historic Preservation Commission, not from the one person who works on this campus and walks past it every day. And we also commend the college for gradual but very, very significant improvements to the historic quad that faces the north side of the campus. So I believe John McEnroe, you're going to be... And Shelley also. And Shelley, come on up. I wasn't sure who was going to come up. And it's a beautiful structure and it's a beautiful space. And there's probably a wall somewhere on the campus that is one way or another.
It makes Susan cry.
Thank you very much.
Susan loves historic preservation. Thank you, Tom.
And thank you all very much indeed.
All right. Is there anything to add to the joint meeting agenda?
Yes, I would like to add Park Point to the agenda. and I would like to take Moriel Poole off the agenda.
Give us a second for people to clear out.
Okay.
Hey, folks, we've got to move on, and the mics are a little sensitive, so if you have to, just talk out there if you got to have a conversation.
What I said is
So
I'd like
Park Point
I'd like
and
to take Park Point
remove...
on, and I'd like to remove Moriel Poole for the moment because it's going to be a conversation about capital versus operation from what I understand. I would like to have Chris here. My day got a little taken away from me when I was at the IDA meeting this morning, and I wasn't prepared. I didn't have time to prepare, the details for why you put this on the agenda. So I'd like to do it at the next meeting, which I will point out to make it easier for all of us. But at a prior town village meeting, we had agreed that what we would do is start to alternate, you coming to us coming to you, so it was static, and we would, if we didn't need the meeting, we could cancel it, but it saves the time of us having to go through scheduling it, and then we all know to keep those whatever. So what I'd like to suggest is that the third and fourth Wednesday and Thursday, because that keeps it the fourth week, makes it easier.
Why don't we add that as an agenda item?
Well, what I'm just trying to say is that at the next joint village town meeting, I'd like to put Moriel Poole on, but let's schedule it so we all know.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I understand.
I guess I was thinking about adding rescue squad stuff, but I know we were supposed to have a meeting, so if we'd rather wait until people meet with the rescue squad, we don't have to talk about it tonight. But I just know we're coming upon our budget season, and I want to make sure it's on our radar that,
We don't have a meeting scheduled.
we don't, but, well, I sent an email today because I saw Ted this morning. But this is separate. I sent an email because I saw Ted this morning. But I don't know if we want to talk about it at all, if there's anything that people want to say to each other.
Not knowing much about it, I'd rather hear like what the results of the meeting are before.
Okay. Well, we had a maybe you weren't at the joint meeting. We had a presentation from Lauren and Gina.
I can imagine what some of the issues are, but would it make more sense?
There's really only one.
Have it on the next.
Have the meeting first.
Okay.
Our next joint meeting.
So we're
Okay, I
trying to
just
get,
wanted to put it out there
myself being
'cause we're all
involved too,
at the
Ariana,
table.
yeah, I think we have a lack of knowledge base here, so it would be much better we held
next
off till
meeting.
we had a meeting.
That's fine.
The only
Yes.
point that Aaron is trying to make, which I appreciate, which is when Ted called, asked to meet with me, and I did meet with him, is getting the subcommittee that was agreed to in our budget process in November. The rescue squad had a request. We had all agreed that the issue of the extra $50,000 would be taken on, and that you would address we put $25,000 in over and above the $145,000 we have. We have $25 in the B fund, of which hopefully you were going to match 25.
I think we're going to talk about this at our next meeting, not now.
I'm just trying to say is that what Ariana is saying is we need it on the radar because you're about to do your village budget, and you need to take this up now, and Ariana is trying to get the meeting scheduled.
Yes.
Ariana and I are trying to agree to attend the meeting, but the scheduling...
Ted, I sent an email. Ted and I picked a time this morning.
All right, let's deal with this away from the meeting table, and we'll come back at our next joint meeting.
When I look at it, Ariana, I'll see if I'm available. As long as I'm available,
We don't have to discuss this any further. I just wanted to put it out there. Sorry if I brought it up.
I'm sure everybody got the email from Kevin and I that we're removing from the table the discussion on the Great Parks and events.
Right.
Yes.
On item number 3, I would like to also add the realignment of dates on that contract because it became effective a month later and the dates all need to be realigned. So I would like to add that.
Okay. Any objections to those two, the dates for the master plan contract and Park Point?
No objections.
No objections? Okay. And nothing else? Anything else? Okay. I guess that's all in favor of the agenda as amended.
Aye.
Thank you. So I guess we're going right to 3. Discussion on the appointments of the advisory committee for the joint master plan and the dates. Do you have a proposal? Do you have it written out what they should be given the lag?
I sent, you mean for the dates?
The dates, yeah.
Add 35 days to every date in the scope of work, and I will so move that. The effective date of the contract specifies certain dates by which tasks will be completed by.
Right.
We had some confusion, and we were a little remiss in adjusting the dates when we re-approved the contract. So I am moving that 35 days be added to each schedule and the scope of work to align it to the effective date of the contract.
No, so when you say, you said 45 or 35? 35. And I don't think we were remiss, I think we were just trying to be
Well,
aggressive.
whatever, if our dates are right.
I agree with you. I agree. I think we were just trying to be good, aggressive, and trying to keep it moving.
Could I
So yeah, I agree.
offer a possible amendment to your motion, which is just to have, I don't care, the village attorney, town attorney, just draft a rider with whatever legal language you need,
Yeah.
so you don't have to have.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're just going to make a motion to amend the contract, and we can do it by, you don't have to re-sign it.
Right.
Just amend it, that
So
we
we'll-
will add 35 days to every date of
Okay.
expectation.
So is there a second to that?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I move the same for the town board.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. So,
Before we move on, I forgot something.
let me just, so Sally, can you just, well, I guess we'll just take the minutes and just amend and amend it to the
Well, just
contract?
have to take the contract
Yeah, and we'll just,
and amend it.
And just we'll run it by Will to make sure there's nothing.
And can I also add that I'm going to, just because there's been a change in attorney on the bill, that since our attorneys looked at it, that the town attorney will make the adjustments and get the copy out.
Oh, that's fine.
Is that okay?
That's fine. with me.
use this money and then turn it
Whatever
on
way
the
you
table.
can do it, the fastest,
spend a little
Not
money.
not anymore.
Jeff, the easiest and the fastest.
That's easy and fast. All right. I'll tell you what, I will call and see if he'll throw this in as a freebie for us. I will find it out.
All right, I did forget something incredibly important, so I'm going to pause the conversation on the master plan because we didn't do public comment. Is there anyone here to public comment about the joint meeting only? Because there's village public comment comes later, village only public comment. Any public comment? Steve, yeah?
Hi, Steve Greenfield, town of New Paltz, and possibly with some kind of volunteer employees, guys.
You are an officer of the village.
Areas. As always, speaking only for myself. Well, a lot of work's been done in this community over the last several months by a lot of people. This has been no small effort to see if we can get the three principal taxing entities that overlap around our residences and work together to try to speak with one voice on a matter that's going to affect people who live in Esopus and Gardner, our school district, not even in New Paltz. That's going to have a profound impact on people even beyond our borders. This community has come together in a way that I've never seen in the 13 plus years that I live here. People, we were joking last week, people who've run for office against each other multiple times, finding themselves working together to make sure that the elected officials from our three principal entities speak with one voice in the interest of the overall community rather than individual jurisdictions. And it really seemed like that was where things were headed, and that was something that we considered to have been accomplished. I would like to express my desire that that continue, that no rifts form in that process, that nobody start looking at whether one particular jurisdiction within the three can negotiate something that is to that jurisdiction's benefit that isn't also completely to the benefit of the other two, because this is a terrible, terrible bind in which to find ourselves. It's like we always say about the various programs that exist in government that force counties, municipalities to bid against each other in a race to the bottom where we're lowering our wages and lowering our taxes and everything we can do until we can no longer afford to plow the streets or answer an emergency. Please do not let that happen with regard to Park Point. We must maintain a unified approach, all three municipalities speaking as one. All of us live in the town of New Paltz. Even if you live in the village, we discussed this, you're all in the town. We're all here together. Please do not let anybody drive a wedge between our taxing entities and make any one of those entities think that they can seek an advantage that could come at the expense of the others. We've come too far and we really need to remain united. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve. Anyone else for the joint boards?
I second that.
All right, so any announcements by the joint boards, by the board members? No? All right,
I don't want to make an announcement, I want to make a commendation. I just drove into town from away, and I was struck by the effectiveness and the expert job done by our Public Works Department. The streets are clean, they're groomed even, and I was really struck by that as I came into our village. I would like to say that.
And,
Yes.
you know,
And the town, but I didn't see so much of the town.
well, just to give you guys a sense of what, to add on, in my announcement, to add on to what Tom just said, just so you get a sense of the dedication of the Village Public Works Department, because I know them better than the town. Last Thursday, well, after the plowing is done, we wait and then we do snow removal at night, taking it off the curbs on Main Street and such. So last Thursday night, they started work at 1 a.m. and finished sometime, I think, around 4 a.m., removing the snow. They got back to work about 1 in the afternoon on Friday and were called in again on Friday for a water main breakup by Bosse's. So we're once again, this time, sometimes waist deep in freezing water, fixing a water main break from about, I think, 11 p.m. to, I saw them leave at 2 a.m. on I guess, Saturday morning.
Wow.
So these guys are just bouncing back and forth from home back to the village, and all of them come. There's actually no contractual reason, you know, they only have to come a certain number of calls, but all of them come for every call, unless there's some kind of family emergency. So if you see the public works guys around, thank them for both, you know, working exhausted no matter what. Any other comments from the board?
I would like to just make a motion that the joint board send a commendation to both Lou Twilliger and to Chris Marks, commending them for what the mayor and trustee Rocco have said.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Same for the board.
Okay. I'd also like,
You guys should vote just for the formality's sake. Come on.
Jeff, would you like to second it?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
You all know how to play this game by now.
I'll just add to this quickly too. I work at Bosse's, and people, you know, we've got like a few hundred people who come through there, you know, from different parts of the county as well as other counties, other states who even work at Bosse's, and they also all commend our employees at how beautiful our streets are kept and how, you know, they drive through and they hit New Paltz and it's like, oh, now we're safe, you know. So it's,
And I'd be happy to have that as part of the commendation.
Absolutely, yes.
All right. Moving on. So let's jump back to discussion of, we're done with the realignment of the dates.
Yep.
The appointments to the advisory committee to the joint master plan. And I know I had committed to try to find some people. I haven't been able to find anyone who has the time yet. I've asked a handful of people.
I had sent a proposal to the supervisor and to the mayor, making a suggestion regarding the composition of the advisory committee, and my recommendation was 2 planning board members from each planning board. They are to be self-selected by those boards. They can be past members of the planning board or current. The same for the ZBA, 1 ZBA member from each, 1 trustee, 1 council person selected by those boards, 1 citizen at large from each, from the village and from the town outside the village, and 1 representative from SUNY, because SUNY is a major institution and a major player in this community, and I think knowing what they're thinking for the future and they're knowing what we're thinking of for the future would be a very good idea. That was my proposal that I suggested to the supervisor and to the mayor. The reason I'm concerned about this is sort of the same reason with the alignment dates, and we are remiss, both boards are remiss and in violation of the contract. It says, effective the date the contract is signed, an advisory committee will be in place. We have another option, and that is we can act tonight to make ourselves in charge if we are not prepared to come up with an advisory committee. I don't care which way we do it. I think...
I'll move your first proposal.
Huh?
I'll move your first proposal.
Okay. The first proposal is...
Just for the record.
I'm going to second my proposal.
Okay. And I'll move Sally's proposal for discussion Somebody want to second it? Second. Okay, I just want for the record to show we're not in violation of the contract, because if you remember, the night we were signing it, my concern was that we were not establishing an advisory committee and we would be in violation. And so when I looked at the contract, it said we could establish a committee or until such time the two boards were the acting committee. And so therefore I was willing to accept the contract that night because we would not be in violation. So we're not in violation. However, we did never have the discussion of how to proceed. So I appreciate the discussion. I just want the record to reflect.
But with all due respect, supervisors, and that is not what the contract says. It says we will do one or the other. We will take action to do one or the other.
I understand that.
And we have not acted.
No, that night we chose that we were going to be, that night we chose, because we were not taking action that night, that we therefore constituted the committees, and until with such time we take action, which you're trying to do tonight, which I appreciate. We just never were actually in violation, that's all.
Well, that's an interpretation, but
I
anyway, let's have the discussion.
I was not voted that night if it was.
If we can do it now, let's
get it
do it
done.
now.
There's a motion on the table.
I think-
Is there any discussion on the merits of the motion on the table right
The
now?
motion on the table is because, and one, just because I have gone through the one town master plan. A master plan, for lack of a better description, it's what you then pass on to your planning board. So this is the vision of our community, and I feel as the elected representatives of the community, we should be the ones wholly responsible for it. So I would prefer to see that the advisory committee for it be the sitting town boards and village, town board and village board, because this is going to be the vision, and not only will it be the vision, it's also going to be the legal document that will also be used by future development. Because if should we want to go in, and I know that the village has done it, and the time very well can't come where the town may want to do it. If you ever go into a moratorium, it is the town board that has to enact that moratorium. So we would be the ones most likely to be the closest to a joint master plan. You can make it akin to, and this is from discussions, and Tom and I have had many discussions, this would be akin to a large project happening in a community where they have to go through, the final draft impact statement, or the final statement actually belongs, even though the applicant has written it, it belongs to that planning board. They're the ones that need to sign off on it. This joint master plan, we are the ones that are going to have to sign off on it. We have to initial and dot each and every single page. If you create an advisory committee of a separate group, they're going to go through and then correct it, and then we are going to have to sit and correct it. We're going to be doing twice the work and increasing the amount of time that this project is going to take. So I would prefer to see this project start and go through its process that we tried to outline. We now are going to be adding 35 days to each one of the dates in it. But if we truly want to have this done in a year by adding in another layer of advisory committee, we're going to be lengthening the process. So I find it very difficult to support lengthening that process. We'll be having all the meetings in open. These will be noticed in public meetings. We will take public input completely at the meetings. But then I feel we should be the owners of this product right from the onset, so we can correct those pieces that we feel our communities should not be heading in that direction, or should be heading. Just my feelings.
I don't disagree with you, Jeff, theoretically, but I also think that given the responsibility and the hours and the time that these two boards spend already together and separately and apart conducting business, and I, for one, don't pretend to have any expertise in planning, unlike some board members, but I don't, I will say, I don't, that I think by having one trustee and one council person as a part and bringing back to the boards those things that they think need more input from the board would hold us in good stead, and it also would allow for those people who really do know or I never should say I assume, but I respect have expertise in planning and are serving on our planning boards and our zoning board, that they have firsthand knowledge and really a background that I don't have, and perhaps don't have the time to spend going through each and every thing, and I would rather spread the wealth and get a greater volume of input, and I think it's very important to have the college involved in this planning because they are a big player for us.
And I do not disagree with you on that. And again, I won't say it in theory. I'm a bigger fan of speaking in practice. And in speaking in practice, and you use SUNY as an example, SUNY is going to do what SUNY is going to do. Regardless of what we say here as a community, not a single person here had a single word to say when they went and closed one of the access roads to SUNY and turned it into a walking wall. I'm not saying that was a bad walking wall. It's a multiple transportation wall. It allows walking and bicycles on it. You and I grew up with that being a road and an access road.
It doesn't really have bicycle access because you're not allowed to ride bikes on the sidewalk.
Actually, on that, you are allowed to ride bikes on that access. Actually, it actually is indicated. But that notwithstanding, and to go into details, but I too absolutely agree that none of us are going to be the experts on it, but we need to own it. And the same as when we consider new laws in the town, if we feel there's going to be an impact that the planning board may need to discuss, we send it to the planning board, and they're more than happy to give the comments. We send pieces of our law to the ENCB. They're more than happy to comment on it. We send comments to Transportation Implementation Committee, and we take comments from it. I can't have all those members sitting on a committee trying to say, I truly believe if we're going to steer this ship, it needs to be the people that have been elected and trusted and entrusted to guide this process. If we make what we believe would be the best, we're actually going to be shortchanging ourselves. Instead of taking one or two members from a planning board, I would much prefer to have 7 members of a planning board look at it, and then they will send us back comments. I've never had to wait once in my experience in now going into a 3rd term on the town board. They do not get them back to us right away. Same with sending items to the ENCB.
Right.
They all comment on it, and we get it back very quickly from them, and they will call and speak to us as individuals. You know, I will frequently take a call from an individual member of both those boards, and then we can then make the guiding decision based on their income and their comments.
You know, I'm torn because I feel like what Sally's saying is important, to be able to give ownership to the community over this, with not have it be board directed. And I just think about how much time we spend on other things and how little time I have for an additional meeting or something like that. But then I think about everyone else has very little time for an additional meeting. And what you're describing here, where, you know, each of these boards and committees that are already in place and have the expertise in each of these fields, you know, that really might be a better way for us to go. And while I think, you know, it's hard for our board to, you know, really take the reins, and I agree with you, Sally, that, like, you know, I mean, I think I have some knowledge of planning at this point, but I'm not a planner, you know, and if we have community members who are planners and willing to serve in this capacity, that would be an asset. But I don't know if we know that we do, first of all, but maybe we could have some kind of, instead of a committee that is the steering committee, so to speak, we could have a committee that's more of advisory, where we have planners that consult with us as the main committee, so that we can move. I mean, I'm just brainstorming here, you know.
Susan?
I'd like to make a suggestion. I think to have the 2 boards, at this point, it's hard enough for us to get together, spend the time. You know, we're all pretty busy in a sense. I understand Jeff's comment, though, about the ownership. So what I'd like to do is possibly throw out another suggestion, that a subcommittee, which we've been trying to do with the 2 boards, which has been working effectively on a number of issues, to create a subcommittee of town board and village board members, whether it's 2 or 3, you know.
Well, it can't be 3.
But if it's public and if it's in the open, it can be.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm just saying, you know, because I don't know how many people want to serve, okay? And hopefully Jeff is prepared to serve since he's asking to whatever. But that basically that we take 2 or 3 board members from both boards. They become a subcommittee. They meet at least once a month prior to the 2 boards meeting. If we start to truly meet every month like we're planning, that we could say at each monthly meeting, we take
We'll have an
a half
update.
hour, an hour or whatever dedicated to the comprehensive plan. The subcommittee can come, report to us. We could roll up our sleeves, do the work at the table at that meeting, give our feedback, let them go back to the subcommittee, do the work, and come back. So we can sort of incorporate in a way, subcommittee doing the work, then the boards making the commitment at our joint meetings that we'll take the time to review it and work on it. And that might be the better solution, because if we left it to the 2 boards trying to meet as the 2 bodies completely, we're not going to get anywhere. I think a subcommittee of people who really want to roll their sleeves up and do it, and then these 2 boards committed to meeting every month and putting this on the agenda,
I think that's a good idea.
I would like to make that
I
suggestion.
can support that idea if a representative of the college is also included in that subcommittee.
I have no problem with that.
Yeah, no, I'd be
I
fine
can
with
do
that.
that. I just think we need to get going.
And I do appreciate everyone's time.
I think Tom had the floor after Susan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I had this point to make in regard to Jeff's earlier comment, and that is that whoever develops this plan, it's a draft plan until the board's adopted. So I don't think there's any issue about the legal ownership of the plan until it's our plan. I think we have 2 and now 3 reasonable proposals here. None of them would be mad to adopt.
I agree.
I think the more difficult one is the one that Jeff proposed, though. It's only more difficult. It's not impossible to do, but it would consume both boards' time in a way that I personally would rather not devote to it. I would not be unwilling to be assigned to working with the person whom we've chosen as the planner as part of an advisory committee rather than as the board making decisions and determinations before we have a plan. I want there to be input from the various parts of the communities we serve in order to generate a draft plan that we then consider. So I liked this idea that Sally proposed. It engages our planning board, we consider to be, if not expert planners, and most of them are not, by the way, expert planners, but they're practiced in making judgments about planning. And our ZBA, similarly, these are folks that are typically not expert planners, but they're practiced.
And not busy right now.
And they're not too busy right now.
Banks aren't loaning for construction.
Right. So this constitution, which amounts to 11 persons, as I count them, 4 planning board, 2 ZBA, 2 among us, 2 citizens at large chosen somehow, I don't know, by lot or by knighthood, and then 1 person from SUNY. It gives us a good distribution. So while there could be many other, there could be an indefinite number of other options, we have this option before us that makes sense. And I kind of like it. So I would support it.
And I just want to say, and no indifference to our planning board. One is our planning board actually has many members that have less than 24 months experience.
Maybe more than I have.
Yeah, and very true. And that is very, very true. And actually our planning board is actually very busy. They have they're in the midst of still, I think already, Ariana and I have been together for, 2 or 3 nights already this month between various boards that she goes to and I go to. I know this week alone, I've been in a meeting every night, this one included, and included, I think tomorrow we're canceled ours, but that's a different issue. That was canceled, I believe. But yeah, so, and our ZBA is also involved in, right now, one pretty large project, and they've got about 3 small projects in front of them right now. So I'm just trying to speak, and that's our ZBA. So there is quite a lot of business in front of them. So I don't want to get into the part of where we're putting our volunteer boards into a fatigue area. You know, and I'm not under the false premise.
Past members, and it's self-selected. I'm not going to dictate to the planning board who they choose. They will choose their own 2 members.
But what if none of them want to do it or have the time to do it?
Well, then that's a different.
Well, I'm just saying, like, say they don't. What would our alternative be?
Can I speak?
Rebecca's got an idea.
Okay.
Excuse me, Rebecca.
Go ahead.
They don't have to. I think it's better not to speculate what they will or will not do. Let's find out what they'll do.
Okay, I think what Jeff is proposing is the most expedient proposal that we could be looking at. I agree that being that we are ultimately, the sign off on the final draft that's going to be adopted, we should be as intimate with it as possible. And what I would like to see is meetings that are considered public official meetings where they are noticed, where majority of both boards can be in attendance, therefore noticed, and that we do invite members of the different boards and the different compositions that Sally is proposing. And just, I would like to attend them, and of course, on any given month, any of us could possibly have a conflict where we can't attend, but all of us could potentially attend at, any of these meetings, just so that we have an ongoing familiarity with what is being drafted and what is being proposed in terms of the master plan.
I'm perplexed at what you're saying, because what I heard, Jeff's proposal was the 2 boards on the committee.
Yes.
And so you're suggesting that it goes back to the 2 boards, but then you're saying that then we should be also inviting all of the people that Sally recommended to be a part of this committee also. Is that what you said, or am I misunderstanding?
Well, to be a part of
the conversation, I think.
Yes, more of the conversation,
said.
yes.
That they would
because
be at the meeting in the audience to participate in the conversation, but it would still ultimately be the boards in control. I think that's what Rebecca said.
If that is a recommendation, unless I wouldn't support it from the perspective of, to ask them to come to meetings consistently every month, but to be in the audience where we take their comments, I think is imposing a lot on them. I think either it's a committee of the 2 boards together with those people, and if it's a committee of 20 people and we think that's what it should be, so be it. But I don't want them to be second-class people on the committee.
Nope, either way.
So, I would then like to go back and make another suggestion of going back to the subcommittee of board members, of which anybody can attend. It's just a matter of not committing 2 boards all the time. The subcommittee of the board members inviting, representatives from those boards. And one of the things Ariana Sally was saying is it could be past people. So somebody who was on the board that's not on it now, but has planning board experience, and now that they're not on a board, they've got time, to take, some maybe more than the 1 board member each, which Sally has, expand the board, so it's maybe even 3, so it's a majority of the board. They're public meetings, invite those representatives, and that becomes a subcommittee. Still with the understanding that the 2 boards will discuss it at their meetings, but not committing the 2 boards to being, every meeting is an extra meeting, and so a compromise, I think, if we could do that.
I think it's a fair
I thought that was.
I'm going to disagree.
You were saying his idea was to both boards, and you were saying his idea.
Right. I think
No, I didn't mean it that way.
Okay.
No.
I'm going to ask the village board to vote on my motion, which was seconded. If you favor Jeff's idea, you vote no. If you favor Susan's idea, you vote no, and let's get it going.
Hey, might as well eliminate one, right?
What if you don't like either one of those?
Well, you're not on the village board, so you don't have to say right now.
Oh, you're right. I don't.
It's okay.
You're having flashbacks to village clerk treasurer is what you are,
Which is
yeah.
okay because then the town.
But Gene, I do want to, it doesn't mean we don't want to hear you and Dan's idea. That's, it's a totally different
Oh, but
conversation.
if you can tell if Katie's doing something wrong, just let me know and take it, from that end of the table.
I can take care of Katie for you.
All right, so the motion has been seconded and made. Any other discussion?
Can I just ask before you vote, are you okay letting Dan and Jean?
I'd like to hear what you two have to say, yeah.
If Jean and Dan have
If you have anything you'd like to
Is it
say.
okay if Jean and Dan
When
express an
you
opinion?
do get to vote on your side.
Express my opinion.
No freedom of speech here.
No, she wants to,
We've got a long agenda.
Yeah, I know, but I want
Okay, you want to? Okay.
No. Sally wants you guys to do process of elimination. She's not really asking you.
Yeah,
You're eliminating one of your two options, but you're not really deciding on one option, are you?
No.
If Sally's vote
You're
fails, we'll be doing
eliminating
one of the
one
two.
option.
From-
Well, we are deciding on an option if we all vote in favor of it.
Well,
Or can we
no,
just
no,
hear what they want, that they're gonna say before we do?
I am opposed, I could support Susan's first recommendation, which is the subcommittee of the board, as long as there is a college representative. I can live with that.
Right.
I would prefer my motion because I think it does not mean that we are abrogating our responsibility. It is putting out into the community in a much larger vision the whole idea of a joint master plan, and there is no reason that that committee won't be making or required to make an annual or a monthly report to the two boards because there will be a board member from each board on it.
Can we just hear what Dan and Jean have to say?
That's okay, I can wait till you vote.
Please. You're driving me nuts over here.
That I will amend my motion.
All right, so just go. Jan and Dean.
Dan's willing to talk.
I will talk. All I was going to say is that I think I should have vote. It's good. I mean, fine. I do like Susan's idea, but we could at least eliminate the process so we can continue from there.
Okay. Jean, what
all
were you
right
gonna
with
say?
that.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely have an opinion, and I'm sure no one at the table is going to like it. What else is new? Okay, it's a little piece of Susan, it's a little piece of Rebecca, it's a little piece of Jeff, it's a little piece of Tom. First of all, I want to say what we did, what we both boards did, with the exception of Jason, is we sat through a presentation, and we actually hired an individual who has a background and experience in the master plan, okay? So as Tom said, this is a draft until the boards adopt something. So I am comfortable with the individual that we hired crafting something, bringing it to us at a board meeting where I am allowed to read it and give my opinion, at which point those people that either have a strength in it or an interest in it, because I'm gonna ask you, how many years has consolidation discussions been going on?
Well, that's a good example of getting it away from the boards.
No, the master plan, we put a timetable on it of a year, okay? And I think that the more opinions you put in it, the more you delay the process, okay? We hired an individual, let's give him the ball, let's let him start rolling. If that doesn't start rolling, there's deadlines in the contract that we all voted on and put in there. Let's see how the first one goes. If that doesn't happen and we have to revisit it, then we revisit it and we do something where we have to sit on them and we have to have meetings. But we hired an individual, we're paying them to perform a process for us. Are we all forgetting that we did that?
No.
Okay.
That's why.
So why, I don't understand why everybody else has to do the work when we're paying somebody to do the work. To bring us a package to then read and discuss.
Touche.
The only reason, because in the contract it said, the only reason is in the contract said we will either establish an advisory committee or the boards will assume the responsibility of the committees. Sally recommended in a committee, of what she thought. Jeff actually said the two boards should be it. So basically, in essence, in the contract, it's either the two boards or it's a
Fine,
committee.
I'll touch on where I feel that in specific interpretation
So the
goes.
reason we're discussing it is because it's in the contract. So if we're recommending the two boards, you're saying what Jeff is saying, if I understand that the two boards should be the committee.
No, my interpretation of that particular subsection would be that yes, the board is assuming the responsibility to be the committee. When somebody gives me a piece, the beginning of the product, and I have a piece of product that I'm allowed to analyze and give feedback on, then yes, I am the committee. And do I prefer to be the committee? Yes, I feel very strongly, like Rebecca said, that the elected officials, and Jeff said too, that we have the responsibility because we have been elected by the people. However, at these meetings, when we are doing the analysis, of course, everyone's invited to give their opinion, and we will take public comment. And that's my opinion, and I'm sorry if I offended anyone.
But you didn't. I just want to say,
That's all I'm sorry.
Well, Gene, I'm very easily offended by you, as you know. So thank you. One is just I agree with most of it, except that yes, we did hire a very highly capable individual. I agree, but he's hired under your axiom. There is that you're almost making it sound like he's hired to write it with everyone around him. That he is hired to.
He made a presentation.
No, I agree.
That we overwhelmingly.
I agree, but
the package was sold.
When you write a master plan,
he knows what we want.
But again, when we write the master plan, we're looking for him to help guide what the final document is. That's where his skill sets are. His skill sets are knowing the laws, knowing that. We should be the ones guiding that. When we get the document and he has guided it, and one of the recommendations they have in it is that any new construction in the community, all houses should be painted orange.
Okay, but wait.
That may not be his.
The first piece that's due in March.
Orange? I like orange.
But now 35 days after the date in March. Right. Okay.
I'm just saying that we're not hiring him to write it.
It's not an entire master plan.
Right.
Correct?
We will have input along the way.
So
I just want to make sure we're guiding it. I agree with you though, Gene. I do. I agree.
This is where I think we are guiding it, because the deadlines we put in the contract were baby steps. We started out small and each one got aggressive. And that's why I think we can manage it that way, and that's why we did a contract.
I agree with you, Gene. And I also think in terms of having, because I'm really big on having the community input, but that's why we said that community input sessions would be held, and so it doesn't necessarily need to be guided by the community. It could be guided by us, but the community is guiding it through their input. That's where that piece comes in.
I'm gonna ask for a vote for our side.
Oh, yes, he did have something
I
to
am
say.
technically running the meeting, so fine. Only to say that I'm starting to hear repetition, like even repeating each other's comments. So, Sally, let me to shorten it. Does anyone not understand or remember Sally's motion that the village is about to vote on? All right. So the motion has been made and seconded on the village board. All in favor of Sally's motion? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
All right. So that's what the village would like to do.
I don't really need to take the vote, but I will because two board members already expressed their opinion, and so we only have 4.
It's a deadlock, which means any motion you make fails.
But I will make the motion. Well, I don't know if it was seconded. It was seconded for discussion purposes.
Yes.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to convene a committee as delineated by Sally with ZBA members, ENCB members, planning board members, community members, town board members.
Does that differ from?
Did you have a second on the town board?
Yes, we did for purposes of discussion.
All right.
Then we discussed it.
Okay.
Now, that yours differs or is exactly the same as what Sally offered?
They voted on what Sally offered. 3 of their members supported it, 2 said no.
No, I got that. I'm on the.
If 2 of our members don't support it, then we'll have another motion.
That wasn't the question.
The clarification is, are you offering the very, very same identical motion that Sally offered?
Thank you, Tom.
Yes.
Well, just saying that we have to, because you voted on that.
Okay.
We could choose not to vote on it, and then I could put forward another motion.
You'd like to do supervisor.
No, you already have.
We have it,
the-
it's
you
out
have
there.
the motion on the
Yeah.
table.
Motion's on the floor and it's been seconded, so I gotta do this vote or withdraw.
So we want to take a vote? All those in favor?
I like
Nay.
your, nay.
Nay.
I like your second one, though.
Well, no, we're going to have to now come up with another
Well, no,
alternative.
you did. You had the
because-
subcommittee of
because-
two, yeah.
Well, that's going to be the next motion,
Yeah.
because
No,
3 votes no.
Now we have a problem, because the village board is gonna have a subcommittee with the individual. Is
No,
that
no, no,
correct?
no, 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 no,
Well, no. We all have to agree. We can't have a different subcommittee than the.
So
We're trying to have one master plan.
So
We're under one
right now,
contract.
3 people voted no. I will vote yes, just in solidarity with my friend Sally, because it doesn't matter at this point, okay?
Or solidarity with yourself. Either one.
No, because I was actually, I mean, I sponsored a compromise, but, you know, for the purposes of whatever. So the motion failed, so what I would like to do is offer another motion, is
This is irony or
that the
what?
2 boards serve as the committee. However, there would be a subcommittee established to meet in between the 2 board meetings that would bring reports back to the board, and then the board would dedicate time at each meeting to review what has been done and give guidance back to the subcommittee to go back and do work for the next board meeting. And I would like to make that motion.
It's what you're talking about before.
Can I second that
Subcommittee of
for
the board.
discussion?
Yes,
With the amendment of a college
with
representative.
an amendment with the college representative. So we're serving as a committee. I'm just asking for a subcommittee to be established.
I want to hear Gene.
I will tell you my problem with that.
Okay.
All right, my mental issue with that proposal is that then it can seem like the 2 boards have created a supervision over the individual we hired that will be overseeing that to then bring to the board, you see.
I don't see it as somebody overseeing it. I see it as a working relationship of this one person working with the people elected to represent the community to create the vision for the community, because to have one person independently doing that and bringing it to us and us disagreeing and then him going back, we're going to waste a lot of time. I think in some ways to have, he's going to be doing work. He's going to be bringing, I mean, right now he's taken all of our master plan and comprehensive plan stuff. I've taken everything that I have in my office that we could find, and we've given, you know, we've put it there, so when he's been coming into the office, he's got it. I suspect he's got all the stuff from the village.
He has everything that I had, plus he has the village plan,
So right
plus he has
So right now
the
he's
other
reviewing
documentation surrounding
everything,
it.
and then I gather what he'll do is start putting some things together, but if he could meet with a subcommittee that works with him to sort of, you know, work together to come up with stuff that brings back to the 2 boards, and then, you know, the board sort of, you know, whatever, and then goes back, I just think it might help to facilitate, and I think it's better for somebody not to work in isolation.
Okay, I think I know what Jean is saying. And I think maybe I can help her. Kurt is a signatory to this contract. He wants to be able, I don't regard it as advisory in the sense you're using that word. I regard it, my understanding is he's looking for a group that he can pop ideas off of.
He's looking for input.
You know, and that can say, well, no, all houses, Jeff, cannot be painted orange in the community. That's not what we're talking about.
Because she wants to be purple.
I'm looking at this direction, and if Jeff is on this committee, he can say, well, I don't think that's where we really want to head. Let's go this way, or let me double check with the boards. I think, so it's not an oversight board. That's why I recommended planning people and ZBA people, because they got a lot more knowledge. And they see a bigger picture, and they see the community in a different way than these 2 boards do. And so that's why I recommend it. But I don't see it as the oversight or, you know, watchdogging, but more sort of
collaborative.
A bumper pad, if you will, so the baby doesn't fall out of the bed. and that we can get moving forward on this.
See, I'm just wondering if, and again, my interest is to expedite the process, having suffered through the process previously, as others on this board may or may not have. And I don't want it to turn into exactly what this discussion is turned into. Was first you're going to have this exact type of discussion. If you have an 11-member committee, and let's just say on any given night you get 8, 9 of them to show up, which is probably about right. No knocking any of the members, but you're not going to ever get all 11. It's difficult. They're going to have long discussions, and Kurt will sit through them. And then Kurt is going to have to then sit through that same discussion with this very body that's going to have to initiate. So, Sally, I hear exactly what you're saying loud and clear, but we need to expedite this process quicker than slower. We have a large project in front of us right now. There is another large project being proposed for the town. There's possibly a third and a fourth one that have come and discussed preliminary with the town. This is why we need a master plan. We are being reactionary to large projects coming in, and if we don't start helping people come here and saying, here are the areas we'd like to see these types of developments, we're going to just keep being reactionary and having long discussions that don't bring us somewhere. And I definitely want to hear what Tom has to say, because he raised his hand so politely.
While I think the original idea is a better idea, I am persuaded that a subcommittee of, I now am hearing 5 persons rather than 10 or 11, subcommittee would work. It's not a majority of either board. It could meet more frequently. It could devote time to this project.
Or I apologize, Tom, just so you know, these would all be publicly noticed, so if it did have a quorum, it would be perfectly legal. But no, I'm with you, though. I agree with you. Totally agree with you, yes.
Many notices. Let's say it has to be noticed, but you would much more readily get 4 members of these 2 boards together with 1 additional person than you'll get 10 or 11 members. Okay, so I'm persuaded that this is a reasonable alternative to the others that we've discussed, and I would be able to support that.
And I can rescind our action.
All right. Well, I'd like to say something.
I'd like to see if Susan can turn that into a motion, though.
Hold on. I think we're overthinking this. The master plan is basically going to be cut and paste. That's it. Because, I mean, having read, I counted in my head 4 New Paltz master plans, been a part of 2 large-scale planning projects, the transportation study and the open space planning process. We always say we want the exact same things. Every time. I mean, the 1960 master plan and the 1995 village master plan say basically the exact same thing. We want mixed-use pedestrian neighborhoods, we want to protect farmland, we want to protect the wilderness, we want more public transportation, we want more bike lanes. It's not, I think, going to be very controversial. So I think there's not going to be a lot of headbutting or back and forth. It's going to be just, you know, well, okay, add this in too. Great, all right, yeah, everyone agrees with that. Because it's they're so broad and they're so consistent in New Paltz that I don't think it's going to be as much effort. This advisory committee, the writing of it, yes, maybe, but I don't think the work of the advisory committee, whatever form we take, is going to be all that strenuous. So I just wanted to put that out there. Please, yes.
As you know, I chaired a Citizens Advisory Committee that spent approximately a year doing this, and we did, in fact, retain many factors from the 1994 plan, but we proposed 19 particular activities that would guide future planning. 19 particulars.
All of them good and all of them broadly acceptable.
But some of them are quite new, at least in their particulars, rather than that they just were cut and pasted out of prior documents. So I think that a new effort is likely to come up with at least 10 or 15 proposals that would form the core of planning for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Can I ask, Katie, could you just read back my motion, because I would like my board to take a vote on that?
I'm just jumping up. Your motion is that the two boards would serve as the committee with two members as a subcommittee who would meet weekly to prepare the information that would be provided to the boards at their committed monthly meetings. The friendly amendment from Sally is that there would be a representative from the college. Jean is the second for discussion purposes.
Okay, the only thing I would like to do is amend, I don't remember me saying that they should be weekly meetings. I think the board, the subcommittee should make the decision of how often they do need to meet.
Okay.
But other than that, yes, that's my motion. So if I'd like, is the town board done with the discussion? Do we feel comfortable voting?
Why is everybody looking at me?
I'm comfortable.
I would like, right, you decide.
She sighed and leaned back. I'm comfortable
I would
voting.
like to, okay, so you're an aye?
Aye.
Aye. Jean? I'm an aye, so the motion passes, so you can choose however you want to vote.
And I'll move
And she votes fine.
I'll move it for the village, but Rebecca has something to say.
No,
Wait,
wait,
Chip.
Jason, I have to rescind.
Yeah,
Oh, thank
I'm
you.
going to move to rescind the action that the board took on my recommendation.
I'll second that. Any, all in favor?
Now,
I'll move Susan's motion. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, did you have something to say that was
Yeah,
prior to that?
I just,
I definitely want to do it. Yeah, I would.
just because we have gone around, again, like you said, with so much discussion and repetition, I think someone made the point that although we're having the discussion now, that it wasn't necessarily the case that this was something that had to be determined right away
that is,
per the contract?
it does have to be, and the supervisor and I disagree, and we are trying to get the committee in place because it was supposed to be in place at the time the contract went into effect. And it isn't in place. Now it's going to be. All right?
Okay, so after you take your vote,
Let's
we'll
vote.
decide who's
And
going to be
we're
on the
done.
committee.
Are we ready for a vote?
It's
Yes.
been moved and seconded. Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We're done.
Okay, so now do we need to decide who's going to be on that
Well, the
committee?
village has to decide who they want to have, the town has to decide who they want to have. I do know that Jeff said that he would be willing to serve for the town. I don't know what other town board members have time
There
to
you go,
serve.
Jeff will do it.
Well, we're going to do it in a second, so
Depends on what we're planning on meeting.
well, the committee would have to decide that. Would you like
Just
to
say yes, Dan.
Say yes, Dan. Don't worry.
Pure pressure.
That's what I was going to say.
No, because I don't think that's fair to Kurt. Because Dan has to meet in the evenings.
Okay.
Well, we're planning on not meeting.
Why don't I,
I think
but wait a
that the
minute.
committee should be able to meet whenever Kurt needs to meet.
But wait a minute.
No.
Hold on a second.
No.
How is it going to be a publicly noticed meeting, and how is everybody going to be available to attend it
If it's during the
if
day.
they're held in one? I
Yeah.
remember,
No, I want them held
I
for 7 p.m.
remember way back when consolidation meetings first started, and they were held at 9 a.m.
Yeah.
on Friday mornings.
Thursday.
There's
we talked about the original efficiency committee? That
No.
the original discussion about, you know, after the grant got voted in, and, you know, I can't take a day off from work.
Gene, I'm with you. I'm the big post 7 p.m. meeting person.
Yeah.
You know that. This
And-
meeting, these, as far as I'm concerned, these meetings will never take.
And
Nobody said it was a good idea but Sally, so maybe we can move on from that topic.
Yes, thank
I
you.
think
I will also just say I had gotten an email from Kurt about meeting generally because I hadn't seen him in a long time, but he said that he's around on Wednesdays and is intending on being available for evening meetings. So that's you
And
know,
evening meetings.
that's-
I'm a
that
big,
takes care of
I'm a
that.
big fan of post 7 p.m. meetings.
So,
So what about from the village side? Tom?
I am willing.
Tom and Ariana?
That's good.
Great,
Tom and Aaron.
perfect, we have the committee.
from the government, you Dan, you want me to check with Kevin first, see if he wants to do it?
And they will-
If Kevin has a real interest in doing it, I will yield to Kevin, but I will certainly do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I do promise you that these will be evening
Now,
meetings,
just one really
so they can be public.
quick.
I have an interest if they don't start for like a month or two. We're kind of jammed up right now.
So,
We're-
no, it's going to be on Wednesdays, and
who is going to take the responsibility to invite the college to join you?
I gather we should be sending the request to the president. So if I'd like to make a suggestion that I'll draft a letter up that could come from myself and Jason, sent to the.
I think that's appropriate.
Okay. Do you want to do that?
Yeah. Great.
Okay.
To the president. Okay. Asking for it.
All right. Anything else we need to resolve about the?
And the only other thing we have to do is, if it's going to be Wednesday, it's just going to be which Wednesday night. So when I send the letter, we're telling them what
First or
night.
third?
Why don't we let the four of them figure that out?
I don't
Just so it goes in the letter, that's all.
Right this second.
I don't think you should say that it's going to be Wednesday night. I think.
Well, she was just saying that Kurt said it could be
I know that,
Wednesday night.
but I
Let's
think that
discuss
there
with
could be
Kurt.
a lot of flexibility once
I think
we
we
get
can
started.
discuss this offline, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now that we're a committee, we can pick a day.
Offline.
That's right.
All right. So moving on.
We will publicize the date once we pick it, far and wide.
Okay, but are you guys going to meet quickly to convene a meeting very quickly so you can come up with this?
Yeah.
If I can ask, just who from the Town or Village Board who's on the subcommittee would like to take the leadership in ensuring that the four of you get together and keep this moving?
I will gladly do that.
Thank you, Jeff.
Having suffered through way too many years on
I feel like all of us were
inadequate
like
town
that.
one,
Okay, so you'll take the,
I will make sure that it gets.
Very good. Thank you, Jeff.
You're
I'll
welcome.
write the letter on my behalf for myself and Jason to the president, and then I will tell the president to
Task
contact
list.
Jeff, Councilman Logan, to who they would like to appoint, and then Jeff will work with that person to coordinate.
Okay, and these will be,
Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan.
I'm glad we got this settled there.
and these will be notice meetings so that.
Absolutely.
Publicly
Jeff
noticed.
will-
Yeah, no, I will.
I think it
yes.
would be good if we did pick a regular day.
Absolutely.
So then we don't have to worry about scheduling, and neither does the committee.
And then
Why don't you guys work out the details out away from the table? Let's move on. Let's move on. All right.
We can move on, but the only is, moving on, Jason, is just that we said that when we got into the meeting, we would schedule when the town and the village are going to take turns meeting each month, so that will be a part of us having this conversation, that's all.
Well, what we had agreed upon, from my recollection, is since we meet the fourth Wednesday, you meet the fourth Thursday, we always know that the fourth week of the month is when we will have a joint meeting, and it'll either be, and we'll alternate between us hosting and you hosting.
So next month is you.
The town.
Yeah.
So this way, it's just so we all know, if we, now that we're going to be doing the consolidation, the whatever, we'll probably have to meet every month, but, so we will be doing the next one, and you said that, we'll notice it when we notice our meetings.
So
Who's physically having the next meeting?
No, it's going to be the town. It's going to be the fourth Thursday
of March.
in March
27th.
at the town.
Okay, I will write up a schedule.
Okay.
I'll send it to Rosanna,
And you too.
and then we'll send it to the newspaper so that it doesn't have to be
So
noticed
fourth
every time.
Thank you.
Thursday.
Thank you.
What, you meet at 7 or 7?
All right, we can figure out these details. I mean, we all know when the meetings are. We know how to figure this stuff out. All right. Next up, before we get into the fun, angry part of the Park Point discussion, there was some misinformation and in the press was, and I guess Steve was concerned about a meeting that I had. So I'd just like to, a meeting I had with an attorney, the new attorney from Wilmerite, the Park Point developer. So I'll just, it'll be faster and much more concise if I just read the email that I sent to the village board. I think it was the next business day after the meeting, filling them in. Because it covers all, just to get some facts out there that haven't been out there yet. So this is sent, and I sent this to the town board tonight, actually.
And who was at the meeting?
It's in the email. Everything is in the email. It's like a couple paragraphs. It's not that long. So it's just addressed board. Just an FYI. Wilmerite's new attorney, Sean Griffin, called me to meet with him. As it's my policy to meet with any developer who asks, I agreed after, in his words, quote unquote, beating him up on the phone about the fact that no matter what, we will not agree to any pilot. They're exploring what would be involved in annexing the parcel to the village to hook up to our water and sewer system. I asked Village Treasurer Nancy Branco, Village Attorney Will Frank, and Citizen Paul Brown to attend. The upshot is that Griffin is putting a proposal in writing. Whether they move forward with it is anyone's guess. The conditions we told them we thought would be required before the village board would even spend time considering the request were: 1, Park Point paying 100% of their taxes or the exact same amount of money in another form; 2, Park Point paying for a new sewer plant with a guessed at cost of $3 to $6 million. As a side note, because we physically could not have that much sewage in our plant, we would need a new one to even physically have it happen. 3rd, Park Point adding an easement to their deed, stating that if and when that property ever changes hands, to SUNY for instance, that parcel must always pay their fair share of taxes. So a mildly interesting conversation which may or may not lead to anything further. If we ever get anything in writing from them, I'll pass it on and we can decide whether or not to move, sorry, this is bad written sentence. We can decide whether or not to move from there. Nancy, Will, and Paul, if I missed anything, feel free to chime in. And the village attorney wrote back saying, no, that was the gist of the meeting. So that's what happened. And I guess Paul, I don't know what Paul said at the IDA hearing Wednesday morning, but apparently this morning, apparently got several people upset. So whether you're upset with me is fine, but at least be upset with me for accurate reasons. And that's the gist. And if anyone is curious, I'll happily forward this email to anyone who wants to. Bill, if you want a copy from yeah, just remind me after. So I wanted to start off with that to get that facet to it out there. And there was an article in today's paper, which I assume is one facet of what we're about to discuss. So, Susan, this was your request for the agenda. So I guess take it from there.
So what I would just like to do is give the background to what happened. And the reason I'm asking this to be put on the agenda is because the town board has had many meetings and it's been very, very, very clear for over at least the past month that any conversation we have on this needs to be done in public. Any meeting with Wilmerite attorneys needs to be done in public because of the nature of where the community is at this point on this project and the distrust for what's been going on in terms of the pilot. And so we've had a number of meetings to discuss as a board how to move forward, and we've been very clear we wanted everything to be done in public. We also were asked to meet with the attorney. I was asked to meet with the attorney privately prior to the public hearing. And I thought about it, and I could have met with the attorney, privately, but they wanted me to represent what the board wanted. I can't represent what the board wants because I'm only one of 5 people. So after thinking about it, I said, please let the attorney know that we can't meet with, I will not meet with them, but I will talk with the board. We had a board meeting. We went into executive session for client-attorney privilege, and the town board basically said the public hearing is about to happen. We do not want any conversations with the attorneys until the public hearing happens, but we'd be more than happy to invite them to a public meeting. That's what we asked them to take back to the attorney. Okay, we had the public hearing. We invited them to a meeting on the 27th. That's where we were at, that we would have a meeting on the 27th. No meetings independently with myself, with the attorney, and any meeting that we had would be with the entire board in public. This morning there was an IDA meeting. I went on behalf of the town to hear the conversation and to once again talk to the IDA about their Category 5 and how the determination for Category 5 does not take into account covering the cost to the town government that we would incur for fire, rescue, and police. There was public comment, and let me just step by saying that at the meeting where everybody who was there who spoke for public comment was from New Paltz. So you had Paul Brown, Dan Torres was there, Paul Brown was there, John Johnson was there, George Siegfried was there, Steve Greenfield was there, myself, Josh Honig, and a couple of other landlords. Everybody spoke during public comment. Then the IDA got to the Park Point report, and they had a very, very long discussion about where they're going to go with this project, how they're not going to work really, they're not going to try to push this forward. They want to see what happens with the town. They actually, at that point, invited the town board said that they were going to invite the town board and the school board and Wilmerite to a meeting to try to get us in a room for negotiation. At which point I said, please invite us. However, I can't tell you whether my board will accept because my board does not want to go to any meeting that's not in public. So we had this conversation, whatever, and then at the very end, Paul Brown had asked for the ability to speak, and they recognized Paul. At that point, Paul basically shared with us the entire IDA, plus everybody there, that shared that a meeting was held between Sean Griffith, who's not the new attorney, he's the attorney for Park Point for the IDA. So understand Mike Moriello is the attorney for the secret process, Sean Griffiths is from Harris Beach. She's the attorney for the IDA, and then they have their corporate attorney, Tom Daniels. Sean Griffith is the one who's been asking us to meet that we've refused to meet with. So it was basically announced that Jason...
We're not refusing to meet with them.
Well, no, in public, we would meet with him in public. I'm sorry, I refused to meet with him privately. Okay, so it was shared with everybody that Jason had invited Paul Brown to a meeting with the attorney Sean Griffith to discuss annexation of Park Point into the village, them giving you guys money to fix your sewer plant. It was also stated that they were going to name the road after you, Jason, and called it West Way. Okay, and that conversation was happening. One of the IDA members basically turned around and said to Paul, "You're not the mayor. This is secondhand, okay? And the village is not a part of the negotiation, and this is not appropriate to the conversation." At which point I stood up, asked to be recognized, and said, "Well, it is appropriate to the conversation because we've been dealing with the lawyer where he's been putting out misinformation, saying that we at the County Economic Development Committee meeting twice, that this board will not meet with him, and he's frustrated with that we won't meet with him, which is misinformation because we very clearly said we'd meet with him, but not until after the public hearing." Okay, so I've been spending a lot of time going to economic development meetings, IDA meetings. I've been putting in writing, trying to correct, the information based on what the attorney had said. So first I put that on the record that, let's be clear, okay? Then I said a problem with this meeting that had happened was that we're trying to be so careful about everything being in public that the feeling of, them meeting and calling you to have a meeting and not telling any of us.
There's nothing improper about it.
I'm just, you don't think it was improper. I'm just saying that
I know it's not improper.
I'm just saying that I stated, okay, that from our perspective, we've been very, very careful, bending over backwards to trying to not have any meeting outside of the public eye, okay? But I said, however, where this really does impact us and it does come into the village, I said that Park Point has been on the table for 4 years. The first 2 years, they said they don't need a payment in lieu of taxes. They can afford this project. Then what they said was because they can't hook up into the village sewer and water, they now need a pilot. So they're basically saying that it's the village water and sewer that they can't get is the reason for the pilot. Okay, so they're saying
Do you believe that? I mean, personally, do you think that's true?
Let me finish this and then, okay. So, once they've said that, recently that's been coming to, what we as a board have been somewhat discussing is, okay, if that's what's standing in the way for them to give us, pay their taxes, okay, they've come back just recently and have said they would create a sewer and water district, they would pay their sewer and water taxes. So we, as a board, have been discussing, individually, we've not had a meeting yet on this, it's something new that's just sort of coming up, that we as a board, it might make sense for us as a town to borrow money, because we can borrow money very cheaply right now, that we can borrow the money, they can create the sewer and water plant for our specifications, we would take it over, they become the user, and so they then pay us debt service, okay? And so, they pay us a debt service, which then takes it off. So I said today, if we're sitting here right now spending money on the town attorney and the town engineer, trying to look at how we can put together the sewer and water to offer to them, to take that off the table, so now maybe they can pay taxes, I said, but while we're doing this, they're going behind our back to meet with the mayor to talk about annexing into the village and do their sewer and water. Why are we spending our time? Why are we spending our money? Why are we discussing this? Okay. Why is the IDA reviewing this project? Why are we all wasting our time? And I said, quite frankly, I'm done, and I sat down. And so that's what transpired this morning. And then, because it was done publicly, the press started calling. Hugh Reynolds was there. A reporter a county legislator was there who called some of the reporters. I had a meeting with Jeremiah Horgan scheduled for afterwards to tell him what happened at the IDA meeting, so that was already scheduled, and that's what happened this morning.
So I think what we, the people at this table, the people in New Paltz, the people on the school board, what we all just need to keep in mind is that in a lot of ways, it is us against them, and not us against each other. which is exactly what they want, in order to get what they're looking for, which is where maybe they want to use the village as leverage to say, oh, well, we're negotiating with the village and we're negotiating with the town, and they could tell the IDA this so that they can, do some kind of pilot deal. Whatever it might be that they are thinking, if our attorney called it forum shopping, whatever it might be, we need to remember that regardless of this back and forth, because I think meeting in public and what you've done is very commendable, and I totally appreciate all the efforts that you've made to do that. I didn't really, when I got your email, Jason, my first thought was not that you had some private meeting that I was a little surprised that we didn't hear about it until Tuesday when you met on Friday, but that's besides the point. I think what we really need to focus on is being united as a community and not letting them divide us and not letting them go behind, let either of us go behind the other's backs.
Nobody went behind anyone's back.
I'm not saying anybody did. I'm saying we can't let them do that. Yeah. That is what we need to focus on.
I support what Ariana said. I'm a little distressed. I think the mayor can meet with whomever he wishes, but if he's going to invite one journalist to the meeting, he should have invited all papers to the meeting, because you may say Paul Brown is a citizen, but Paul Brown is a journalist and he writes for a newspaper, and I think therefore all the newspapers should have been invited to that meeting. And I think since
that wasn't the reason he was invited.
Since he was brought into the meeting, I think it would have been a good idea to inform your colleagues that the meeting is going to occur.
Both of you had positive things to say in your response emails to this. And I don't know if you brought up either of these.
Well, I didn't. When I responded in the email, I said, wow, this is very interesting, and I wondered what would occur of it.
That's all it is.
That is all it is. And I made certain points, and that's why I said just now that I didn't think of the way Susan couched it when I got your email, but I don't disagree. And I just think what we need to focus on is not what has already transpired, but where we go from here. Because what already transpired isn't actually anything.
Right.
All it was it was a meeting, but we got nothing in writing. We gave them nothing in writing. There was no deals made.
Well, no, I think I have a major.
Hold on, Jeff. I'm sorry, Ariana.
And I mean, not for nothing, but I would have, if I were in your shoes, I would have called. If you were looking for an expert on Park Point, I would have called either the liaison to the town planning board, Jeff, or myself, who both of us have been at every planning board meeting about this, as opposed to a reporter.
The expert to answer you and
But I think
Sally,
that Paul Brown is very knowledgeable.
It wasn't a reporter that I was inviting to the meeting. I've known Paul, and I asked him specifically, because he spent so many years on the Board of Assessment Review and 7 years as town planning board chair and had no decision-making power over this whatsoever. And that's the same reason I invited Nancy, the village treasurer, and the village attorney, because they know more about financing and all this.
And I thought Nancy and Will should be there.
That's what I was thinking.
My point is,
and I don't really feel like being put on trial for having a meeting that had no real outcome in the real world.
Jason, I'm not trying to put you on trial, and I don't think Sally is either.
You can meet with whomever you want, but Paul Brown, whether we like it or not, and for the reasons you said, he is a reporter. And I think all of the other papers should have been.
Well, no, and if I could just ask, I absolutely do not agree with you at all, Sally, that no, Jason, you cannot meet with whoever you want. No, you can't. And you were invited not because you're Jason West and you have the ability to negotiate a $50 million deal, because you don't. No one at this table has the ability to negotiate a $50 million deal. We do not have that skill set. So when you can sit there and say, I can meet with whoever I want, sure, go ahead, meet with whoever you want. Then don't go and represent the village. You went.
And I didn't.
You were invited, because that's right, I'm sorry. He invited you because he just said, hey, let me just randomly grab someone in the community who wants to talk to me. No, you were invited, I'm speaking now. You were distinctly invited because you are the mayor of this community to the largest project come to this community that's going to have an impact that is going to go into my children's lives.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I think it was...
In Pond and with every other developer.
I'm still talking, Jason. I think it was completely irresponsible of you to meet. You're making it sound like I just casually meet with developers. This is absolutely not a casual meeting with a developer that has not been in our community for 4 years now. This is now, large developers do this. This is how certain communities get malls and don't get malls, because they go and they shop the jurisdictions. This is way beyond the skill sets of any one of these board members, and I apologize if someone here has negotiated a $50 million deal or a $5 million deal even, but we have not. We are very specifically keeping all of our meetings with them specifically open and in the public because of the impacts of it. And the village to sit at them with the table now takes away part of the ability of us to have open conversations with them. And you can absolutely, I'm still talking. You're absolutely wrong on that, because we specifically have set a schedule and a point when we will be sitting with them.
I'm not on the
Susan,
board, Jeff.
And Jason, I do not want to make this into a debate, but you were specifically invited for the sheer fact that you're the mayor of the community, and they are now considering making an application to the village for annexation. That is completely irresponsible of you to have that meeting and to not notify your board. You're absolutely right. It's within your right. But you have been to more than enough Bob Freeman conversations, as I have, and you know.
So now you're accusing me of open meetings violation.
I absolutely am accusing you of open meeting violation because it was
untrue, Jeff.
I think morally, legally, you're absolutely on great ground. I absolutely agree, and I would sit and say legally you're absolutely correct. Morally, I think you are completely bankrupt on this. I think morally you are completely wrong and bankrupt on this, because you are now taking this developer that's got a $50 million project that has changed the internal structure. The gentleman that was representing Wilmerite has resigned because they feel this project is not going the way they want. So now they're going to start playing these communities in a completely different way. A member that I've been working with from Wilmerite, when I say working with, someone that Ariana has seen and we have seen and we've had conversations with at the planning board meetings, is now gone from the project. So now a new person who does do $50, $75, $100 million project. In fact, the gentleman you met with is working on a casino that is 3.5 times the value of this project.
How is that relevant to having it happen?
Because this is...
And then informing the village board of what happened.
Why did you not inform it? And I don't want an answer, but... And I will use Susan as the example, not to say whether she's right or wrong. Susan notified us, and I will... Directionally, I'm correct. It was either it must have been about six weeks ago that she had been being asked to meet with them. She said, I need to meet with the board. We've had 2 meetings with Susan, with our attorney, and both times we said, no, it is not appropriate. And Susan told them, no, it is not appropriate. It needs to be a public meeting. It needs to be an open, and we need to have people that...
Yes. The village has nothing to say about this right now. I'm sorry, Dan.
Okay. I completely disagree with your meeting with them. That'll be my public statement then. Completely.
In all, and I admit that I am a younger member of this board, but in the time I have followed issues in our community, I think there has never been one that we have all agreed with as much as this one. And if we talk about this as a political campaign, if you will, we really have had the wind at our back here. We've been together. We've had a message, a clear message. It's been in the paper. We've had people come. And what we're doing right now is taking away from that message, because what we're saying now to everyone is, and now we're fighting over how we want to deal with this. So I think that we have 2 separate boards, and we've chosen to do things slightly different from one another, and we can debate whether which one's right or wrong, but at the end of the day we have the same general goal here. So I think that we've said where we disagree with each other on how we want to go about this, but I would respectfully ask, and I'm not trying to kill conversation, that we've said what we're going to say, and now we just continue to move forward here at this point.
I completely agree with you. Thank you.
I just have to make one statement in the sense that you might not believe, Jason. Let me just put it this way. I'm going to take you out of it for the moment. What I'm going to say is the action that just happened, and I said this today, the action that happened by Sean Griffith reaching out to you to have a meeting, whether the meeting even happened or not, okay, changes the dynamics of how the town board at this point feels relative to their negotiations on this project with Wilmerite, because basically they've gone behind our back and we've been trying to be as open and honest. We had a meeting scheduled, we've been dealing with them. They've gone behind our back. They requested a meeting to see how they could facilitate moving forward in a different level. And the only way we know about it was because it was mentioned today at an IDA meeting in public to everybody. Otherwise, we'd be still sitting here not having any clue about the conversation. There might be an alternative plan they might be looking at. Well, we're spending money and time on lawyers to try to make something happen. And so therefore, regardless, the dynamic for me personally, and possibly this board, and how we move forward with Wilmerite from this point on, has been changed based on the action taken by that meeting, because we now have to deal with them.
You give me too much credit.
I'm not, it's not
No,
giving
not
you
at all.
credit. I'm not giving you credit.
If you weren't at IDA this morning, you would have been a town gown, and I did,
Thank you very much.
I brought it up there.
Okay.
I said it to Doug Christian and all of them, so you would have found out that way.
I mean, I'm at the point now, I prefer that they take the nuclear out.
You know what it was like when I found out sitting there at the meeting, and there was a union guy, while Paul Brown was explaining it, and there was a union guy sitting there, and he said, Susan, you should have seen the look on your face when Paul Brown explained, talked about this meeting. You should have seen the look on your face, and we all knew that when you got up, it was going to be fireworks. And I stood up and I said to everybody, I said, please give me credit for controlling my temper right now, because I'm trying my hardest. And then I proceeded to say how I couldn't believe that they, that we're spending all this time, this money, looking to figure out how we could, what to do, and how we've just been undermined by basically them going behind our back to. Basically, I spent time today asking a lawyer about annexation and what does that mean to us. So we can, as a board, understand as we're trying to move forward on how to protect our community. If they're looking to, quote, do annexation, how does that impact us? How could that happen? Could you make a decision independently of us? Therefore, what is that? So each action creates a reaction that ultimately, because we are the body right now trying to make the direction to the IDA,
absolutely,
it impacts everything we do.
I think what you're saying is correct, but I think what we need to. What we need to focus on is, and what this sheds light on is, in your reaction, and the fact that they really did go behind your back, shows just what kind of slime we're dealing with, and it shows even more of how much we need to stick together on this, because that is, I think, what we need to take out of this, and despite what actions we think are wrong or right.
Well, okay, but then, I'm sorry, did you want to say something now?
I do.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, in the interest of full disclosure, 4 years ago, before Park Point went to the town, they came to the village, they requested annexation, and they said they would give them the money for the sewer line cameraing, okay, in full disclosure. Park Point came to the village first, okay, so that then when they turned around and they went to the town, and the town was talking about PUDs and all of that discussion started happening, that was Park Point's choice. Now, the other thing I'm going to say is strictly an opinion. It does not reflect the opinion of any other elected members of either board. But I feel that in light of what happened and what was disclosed today at that public meeting was not so much Jason's fault, but more of Paul's fault, because it wasn't Paul's place to tell, but it was Jason's place to release the information, which he did. I do have the email. It was not Paul Brown's place to tell at an IDA meeting.
The only reason, though, however, that the town board knows and the information was released to us was when Jason released the information to his board, he did not release the information to me. And so it was stated today that it was public and the public knew, and there was surprise that I did not know and I had never been notified. And so the only reason we know is because of the comment made today, okay? Now, again, Jason could choose to meet with who he wants. He could have also chosen to let us know. He could have chosen not to let us know.
I've never actually gotten a notice for a meeting from the town, and this is going to impact the village.
Okay,
actually, every meeting, you've been noticed of every single meeting. Yes, you have.
I'm sorry, I'm talking now, Jeff.
No, but you're absolutely wrong. Yeah, but you're wrong. You've been notified of every single meeting that we've had with Wilmerite.
Do you not respect any of this process right now?
I could respect someone that would absolutely follow process, yeah, and you're not following
Jeff,
process.
just be quiet and let someone else talk. You've had a lot of things to say. The bottom line is this. I thought this meeting was last 10 minutes, because I thought this was going to be after I told him 6 times on the phone, don't waste my time if you're going to try to come in here and convince me to go to my board and say that we should have a pilot. You're wasting my time. You've heard all the public comments. You've heard me. I've made public comments myself. He said, no, blah, 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 blah. So I decided, fine. I meet with every developer so that I don't ever get seen as playing favorites, meeting with some and not others. So I've never met with Park Point. I met with him. I brought in these people. I even told him ahead of time. I said, look, expect a 10-minute meeting because he's going to come in here and say, I want a pilot on better terms. And then if he does that, get up and we're all going to leave. So he sat there and he explained this other thing. And as I said in the email, if you forget, what I said was put something in writing and then I'll bring it to my board and we'll see if they're even willing to discuss it. That was the meeting. Put it in writing and then fine. Until I have something in writing, you're wasting my time. That's the bottom line.
What we need to know, because of what like Ariane is saying, if you're going to wait for them to put something in writing so your board could discuss whether or not you want to consider annexation and negotiate a deal with them, then we as a town board should basically tell our planning board to stop the process, to not to review anymore, that we should stop our negotiations with, talking to the IDA, and we'll wait for them to get to you. We'll wait for your board to discuss it and see what your board wants to do. And when you tell us what you decide, we'll decide how to move forward.
You're making a mountain out of a molehill. None of that needs to happen.
Actually, I agree, Jason. What I see here is that members in the community are doing exactly what Dan said. They're creating animosity between our two boards. That is not, Dan is exactly right about the two boards, and we need to stand together because we all feel the same way about Park Point, unless Rebecca disagrees.
No. I have spoken against Park Point. I have spoken against a pilot. I have spoken in favor of our emergency services and the impact that this project will have on them. And I did it at public hearings, and I will do it again. And there is no way in hell that I would favor the village doing anything that would compromise anything in our community in that respect.
Yeah, we all understand.
If they give us anything in writing, I won't consider it a discussion.
I think we can all agree we're on the same.
Yes.
No. I think what we ought to do as a village board, and then, as Dan suggested, move forward. This village board is on record as being opposed to Park Point.
Didn't we pass a resolution?
And Tom did not have the opportunity to vote on that position. I'm going to move and reaffirm the position.
I will second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want to be clear, though, that I am not opposed to pilots in principle.
We've all said that.
The letter that we wrote was about this pilot.
I want to say something.
We all agree on that.
No, we don't all agree. There are many people who are opposed to pilots in principle.
I'm close. Yeah.
I am not.
I'm not either.
I believe the town board agrees.
But let me clarify.
I'm opposed to this.
You're reaffirming that you're all against the pilot. Mazel tov. We all are as a community, okay? The town, the village, the school district. Congratulations, we all know that. What is happening right now is they are asking, potentially, that they might try to see if they could do annexation and then work with the village for village town water, for the village water and community system. Maybe they'll put together a plan, maybe they won't. What you guys need to say is, we are not looking to negotiate and entertain an independent recommendation to you at this moment in time. And basically say that,
They can't.
No, Jason has basically stated tonight, if I'm missing what I heard, okay, and if I apologize. Jason said we had a meeting. They might be getting back to us with a proposal. At that time, my board will consider it.
No, I said I'll bring it to the board to see if they
He told them to put it in writing.
Right, to put it in
writing. I'll send it to them. If they think it's worth discussing, it'll be discussed.
What I would like to have this board say tonight, if you want us to be all working together on one page with one voice, is that this board would say, we're not willing to consider a proposal from Park Point in regards to annexation. You have a project on the table, move forward with that project, and
what if it's better for the community? I don't know if it is. I don't know what it would look like. rather than make it town versus village, I mean, if it's a better idea, then think about it, and if it's not, then shoot it down. I mean,
Which is
what we do,
we'll
right?
sit back and we'll wait to see if they make you a proposal.
Rather than say no before you.
We will not. Position.
Why don't we?
have affirmed our position. I think that, I hope, will take care of any idea that the village board is entertaining any kind of activity with Park Point. As far as I'm concerned, Park Point is a town project.
Yeah.
It is negotiating a pilot with the town. The village is a part of the town, and therefore the town is speaking for the village residents as well as the town outside the village residents, and we are not in favor of Park Point at the moment.
Yeah.
I'm not in favor of a pilot for Park Point.
For Park Point.
Right. Okay.
We're not opposed to
the housing development.
Constructing a housing development.
Oh, no, not at all.
So we're not opposed to Park.
Okay.
And I just ask, remember that we all play different roles in this community, and sometimes we want to hide behind a role, but I will still reiterate that if we're going to have a journalist in a meeting, all journalists need to be.
And I will publicly say that was
like
oversight, as I didn't remember him as a columnist.
I have to look at it differently. Now, Ariana has something to say.
I would like to make a motion that if the village receives anything, whether it is correspondence or a proposal or a requested meeting, that we refuse to meet or discuss anything that is not at a joint meeting with the town.
I'll second.
Wait, say that again?
We will only meet, discuss whether it's a proposal we're given, whether they want to meet with us, regardless of what kind of correspondence it is.
Right.
Everything we do together.
And we will share any correspondence.
So if we get something back from that guy, we're going to do it at a
send us
joint
an
meeting.
email and it's only to you, you send it to everyone at this table.
That's fine.
If we get a proposal from them, we don't discuss it at a village board meeting, we discuss it at a joint meeting. Therefore, it is not us negotiating anything at any point as a village.
I've seconded.
And then your idea that perhaps something they come up with could be better for the community isn't automatically ruled out, but it's something that we all have input on.
All in favor?
Yeah, wait, was there a second?
Sally, second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter to you guys.
Conversely, we hope that if you learn something that you think will have more immediate impact on the village, that you will share with us.
Any fire department?
I don't have any worry.
Fire department impacts would be the only big one I could think of.
The fire department impacts have been taken into consideration.
We don't need to go into
No, I'm just saying with the CGR report, that's what I'm saying, it's just, whatever. I do just want to make a comment for the record.
Yes, ma'am.
That if they were to look at annexation, that it would take approximately 15 to 24 months for that process to take place.
But that's up to them. They want to come to us and say we're going to waste our time.
I move that we adjourn the joint meeting.
Second.
And I just make a motion thanking the village board for taking that last action, though, too.
Yes.
I'm going to second it. Just a good motion.
All in favor of the adjournment? Let's do this right. All in favor of the adjournment?
Aye.
And a 5-minute break.
Yeah, 10-minute recess.
Did you spell Muzzle Tough correctly, by the way?
No, but
I can't do it.
Mazel space TOV.
Wow. Look at that. Wow. I don't even think I have spell check.
next agenda
Yeah.
and finish off.
Yeah, the rental property, the peddlers, the, all the...
Cool.
And I did contact several of the major landlord networking people and warn them that wasn't going to be on tonight so that they didn't waste their time coming out unnecessarily.
Good job.
Awesome.
All right, so I have one addition to the agenda. Oh, are we live on?
Yes.
Okay. One addition, which is just about hopefully adopting the 2% override law.
Right.
And is there anything else besides
Yes,
that?
CBA.
Oh, thank you.
And Nancy's asked you to just make note of the.
I'll make this during the announcements, yeah.
Great.
Any other additions? Not auditions, addition. All right, I move we approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, anyone here to public comment? Not about something on the agenda, just a general, tell us how we're doing? No? Good.
I have an announcement though.
Please.
Today we had our first Safe Routes to Schools meeting. Oh wait, Amanda totally has a public comment. Don't you?
No, finish and then we'll go back.
We had our first Safe Routes to Schools meeting. The school working group met. It's community members, a lot of different people within the school system. We have a consultant, and I just wanted to say that the scope of work has officially commenced, and we met at the middle school, so we got to see what the dismissal was like. Unfortunately, it was actually a very mild, smooth dismissal. It wasn't as
unfortunately.
well, we didn't get to see what it could be like, is what I'm saying. Fortunately, it was a mild dismissal, but so that is underway, and I will keep everybody posted as we go. Yes.
I told Rebecca I would serve for her. I was supposed to be notified of the meeting and was not.
I think that what you will be serving on, there's two different committees. There's the Technical Advisory Committee.
Which one am I on, Rebecca?
That's the one.
Okay.
And there's the School Working Group.
Okay.
So the School Working Group is what I'm on, and the Technical Advisory Committee has not met yet. So everything, because of a lot of the snowstorms, everything got pushed back. But
I don't want Rebecca to think I failed her.
I actually spoke with Brian Slack about the two of you being people to be notified. So he's aware. Cool. Thank you.
Amanda, you had public comment?
Yes.
I wanted to say something.
I don't really know. It's been really so long since I've been in the village board that I don't even know where to stand.
You can sit.
So, yeah, I'll stand. So yeah, I just kind of, I've been talking to a lot of different people about the police commission issue, and then I kind of realized I didn't really know if the village board had discussed it as a board or just what individual members of the village board felt about it, because as much as you guys don't have direct control over it, it does obviously affect your constituents. You guys do partially pay for the police department, just like the town does contribute to the fire department. And I mean, I have my opinions I'm about to share, but I did also just genuinely kind of want to hear what all of you thought about the issue and how it's going to affect the village. Because some do argue the village uses the police even more than the town does, which in
It's
certain
50-50.
circumstances I can see. Is it?
I asked the chief.
Well, there you go, 50-50. So that means you definitely have some weight on the issue. Originally, I was very supportive of just exploring different options of what to do with the police commission, different ways it could be structured. However, looking at the legal limitations from New York State, there isn't really too many ways that it can be constructed from how it was. And I've talked to several different people, including a member of the town board, people who either formally or currently serve on the police commission, well, what was the police commission. And it really does seem the way the police commission was structured seems to be the best way. There was some discussion about including town board members on the police commission, which to me seems a little bit too much power for the town board to have on the police commission. The whole point of having a police commission is to have a little bit of separation between the public, the police department, and the town board. And the way the town handled it, even though that's not completely in accordance with the way the town law states, because the way the town law reads, it seems like it's completely advisory and that the town board makes all final decisions. But the way the town board...
You mean the New Paltz Town Code or the New York State Town Law?
The New Paltz Town Code.
Okay.
And I think probably both. speak as the police commission has specifically advisory roles, and that's kind of seemed to be the impression that a lot of people were on. But according to the town board and the meetings that we were at where this was discussed, they stated that everything as far as hiring and firing and discipline of officers below the rank of lieutenant, which there really isn't a lieutenant at the moment, so pretty much everything under the rank of chief, all hiring and firing and discipline is strictly handled by the police commission, and that those decisions aren't actually approved by the town board. The town board pretty much grants those powers to the police commission. So those are their powers, and the town board does not actually vote to approve those decisions. They just accept those decisions, and this is what the town board has stated on record at their public meetings. So that is a significant amount of power, and I think that's good, because I think those specific powers are what a lot of citizens in our area are concerned about. Things like the behavior of the police. So the hiring and the firing and the discipline of the lower ranks, and pretty much all lower ranks of the police, are something that residents of the town and village are most concerned with. Not only just police behavior, because you know how they treat college students, how they treat locals, but also residents with families who call the police for noise complaints, for other complaints, who don't feel like sometimes the police either just don't show up ever, or they don't show up in a timely fashion. Those are also complaints that we hear from the community, not just, hey, I got roughed up by a police officer. So it's quite a variety of complaints from a variety of different people in our community, and those are things that are directly handled by the police commission. I think it's really important to keep that separate from the town board. So there was an option discussed where town boards would sit on the police commission. And I feel like that's a little bit too heavy-handed, because the town board is already in control of the budget, and they can, at will, remove and add people to the town, to the police commission. So that's a pretty significant amount of power. And I feel like it's kind of redundant to have town members actually sit on the police commission, which is one of the structures that was discussed as an alternative to what we currently have. As somebody who's on the town, the village the Tenant Landlord Relations Council, we had a liaison from the village. At one point, it was the mayor, who was Terry Dungan at that point. And, you know, he had some stuff to contribute. We had questions for him that he would follow through on, but a lot of the time we kind of, you know, either accepted what he said or we ignored him. However, if he had been a voting member on that board, that would have been a very, very different dynamic. And I feel having town board members on the commission, especially considering that those town board members have the ability to remove or add commission members at will, having the town board members be on the commission and actually be in on the meetings as voting members of the commission that they can kind of remove and add to at will, would very much change the dynamic of how that commission operates. And that the citizen members of that commission might have a tendency to kowtow to the town board members, considering A, that they have the ability to remove them or to add them at will. And just in general, people have a tendency to sometimes to kind of just, you know, go along with what the elected officials say who are on that council. But I feel that the reason that commission was all citizen-based had its purpose, and I feel like that was a very good reason, and I feel like that was a very good structure. So I personally feel that the police commission, as it was previously formed, should be reinstated. I am still open, obviously, to hear different ways that can be constructed, but due to the limitations under New York State, there doesn't seem to be a lot of flexibility. And I feel, though, although there are problems, but again, as I stated before at the town board meeting, in a healthy democracy, it's not a bad thing to have the police chief and the town board and the police commission not always agree on things. And that's the point of checks and balances. And that's the whole reason the police commission is there. So I support the police commission and how it was formed before. I would like it to be reinstated. However, if I missed something in New York State law and there is some more beneficial format, I'd be willing to discuss that and hear about that. But as the research I've done so far, it seems like the best format is what it was before, which was the appointed members by the town board from the public. And that's it.
Great. Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.
And we're going to be discussing that briefly. We'll move that up since you're here. I have two announcements, and then we'll get to the rest. One is I was asked by the treasurer, apparently there's a flyer going around. This is for the general public to get it out there. There is a flyer going around. You probably can't see it, but it looks like that. It's titled Homeowner Responsibility for the Water Service Line at, and then there's the address. And then there's a little bit that says, our records indicate that you do not have water line service coverage from us, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Just so people know, this is not coming from the village. This is a private company trying to drum up business for what appears to be ensuring you're part of the water lines. But people have been calling in asking why the village is sending this flyer out. So just to hopefully get it to a couple people who might be curious, it's not coming from us, and I don't know what it is or whether it's a good idea.
Has it gone to the paper?
That was going to be my question.
I don't know. But I just got handed this about half an hour ago.
Nancy asked me late this afternoon if I could make sure that Jason stated that it was not from the village because people
send a
think that
notice
it is
to the
village.
Nichols Times.
Yeah.
I will send a notice and I will put it online that it's not from us.
And send them the PDF so they can see it. Okay, that's one. The second announcement is for an event here at Village Hall on February 27th at 7 p.m. About a week ago, a couple of us realized it's the 10-year anniversary of the same-sex weddings that happened at the park across the street. So we're going to have a short half-hour documentary on them that was made by a Vassar film student. There's going to be a panel discussion from leaders of civil rights organizations from around the region, and I think New York City, Freedom to Marry, the LGBTQ Center, about the future of the movement. There's been states falling left and right. Just today, the Kentucky Supreme Court may have ruled that same-sex weddings are allowable or must be allowed in that state. So, the 27th of February, 7 p.m. here, if you're curious. And the film, when I said Vassar student, don't think of it as a student film. It was incredibly well done. This is a gifted young filmmaker. It made the cut and was shown at the Woodstock Film Festival 2 years ago. So it's really well put together. Any other announcements? Yes, Tom.
I want to announce that Phase 2 water exploration is progressing in spite of the bitter cold and snowy weather. You will notice guys out digging holes and drilling wells, test wells, of course, in this case, and that there are hopeful results from a number of those sites. I want to particularly commend DEP on beginning the reimbursement process. We were told a number of times that it was unlikely that we would see any money from them until May or June, and that's not the case. We will see money from the City of New York in February.
Awesome.
Awesome. So I want to thank publicly Clauser and Company, our engineer,
and Grenier
and Larios, our engineers, Chase and Company, the hydrogeologist, and New York City Department of Environmental Protection. Dan, we showed our representative there. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Any other announcements? All right. Is anyone here for something particular? I know Ellen's here for fun. I know about the police commission.
NAMI?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's in the consent. We'll pull that.
I'm going to move to remove the NAMI
Second.
Off the consent agenda.
Second. Or all in favor?
Aye.
Would you like to go now? Explain what the project is, please?
Okay, we made it. My name is Tina Lee, and I sit on the board of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Mid-Hudson chapter. Also with me is Alexis Hill. She's an active member of NAMI Mid-Hudson, and Linda Monkman here. Sally does know Cheryl Silver. She couldn't be here tonight, which was probably a smart move. Linda and Cheryl are both New Paltz residents, and they both work in the mental health industry, and they're very strong advocates for mental health. Just to explain a little bit about NAMI, it stands for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization. NAMI is the nation's largest grassroots mental health organization dedicated to building better lives for the millions of Americans affected by mental illness. NAMI advocates for access to services, treatments, and research, and is steadfast in its commitment to raise awareness about mental illness and give hope to the 1 in 4 Americans and 1 in 5 children that suffer from some form of mental illness. NAMI Mid-Hudson has reached out over to 10,000 people in this year alone. We differ from other agencies because we focus on offering support and education to the family and the support system instead of focusing only on the consumer. NAMI recently made the SAMHSA Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration list for evidence-based practices that demonstrate that NAMI programs are crucial for the successful recovery for our loved ones. Since 1949, May has been dedicated to Mental Health Awareness Month, and last year in May, NAMI Westchester, in partnership with Stanford Greenwich, Connecticut, launched their first mental health awareness ribbon campaign. Ribbons such as this one, Ariana has seen this before, were tied to the trees along the main streets in 30 municipalities in Westchester County and in Greenwich, Connecticut, and its surrounding neighborhoods. This year, NAMI Westchester will have nearly 50 municipalities participating. With such positive results from last year's campaign, all the previous municipalities that participated in the campaign last year agreed to participate in this year's campaign. The Ribbon Awareness Campaign is an anti-stigma awareness campaign, and it is part of NAMI's community outreach and education efforts aimed at dispelling the stigma of mental illness and promoting awareness in a direct and visible manner. Many people suffering from mental illness do not seek help because they are afraid of the stigma attached to mental illness. NAMI hopes to let individuals and families know that they are not alone and to offer NAMI as a community resource. NAMI Mid-Hudson is approaching over 30 municipalities, high schools, universities, colleges, and other mental health agencies to participate in a ribbon awareness campaign. And so far, the response has been extremely positive. We respectfully ask the Village of New Paltz to participate in our awareness campaign. We request permission to tie approximately 30 ribbons on the main street, starting from the exit of the thruway to the end of the main street where the Wallkill Bridge starts. We would also like to have 2 signs to be staked in your village for the month of May 2014. Cheryl and Linda, and there's a couple other New Paltz residents volunteering, will be responsible for putting up the ribbons and staking the signs near May 1st, 2014, and for taking them down at the end of the month no later than June 1st, 2014. The ribbons are eco-safe, produced by Barrick Offray. They're made in the United States and will not damage any of the trees. The signs are standard Coroplast signs, you've all seen them, and they are made by a local vendor, Fast Signs. There's no cost to the Village of New Paltz, and we will supply all the ribbons and signage. To our knowledge, no other mental health organization has done an awareness ribbon campaign, and this year NAMI Chicago will be joining us. And I just talked to NAMI Santa Clara, and they are also joining us as well. It's our hope that this becomes a national campaign. We would like for the Village of New Paltz to join us in our efforts to changing attitudes and changing lives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Move and support.
I'll second that.
Thank you so much.
Before we vote,
Yes.
I debated saying this on camera. 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with bipolar type 1. And last August, someone made sure the Times World Record knew that. So I got outed very publicly, so up to 500,000 people know about my mental illness. So if there's anything I could possibly do to help, call my office. I'm at your disposal. I know exactly what you're talking about not seeking help, and for various reasons, stigma and otherwise, and denial and misunderstanding.
I think, Linda can attest to this, that, we're finding now that, Ariana and I we had this discussion, is that, to be somebody with suffering from mental illness, it's not just their illness, it's everybody's.
Everyone who's close to them.
Absolutely, and for that to be successful, it's teamwork. And just like I heard you guys speaking about that today, it's teamwork. And to stay in recovery, you need to have a support system.
Yeah.
And it's a marathon, and I think, right now we're at a very exciting time in our country, because I think we're starting to address mental illness. We cannot shove that under the rug anymore. It's not a gun control issue. It's not, hand control issue. I mean, it's mental health. And we always want to say that without mental health, there's no health. And, we are really seeing people coming out and saying, there's nothing wrong. It should be at the same equality as any other illness. Cancer. We never question people. You got cancer,
Right. What's wrong with you?
A broken leg. It's the same thing. It's a brain disorder. There's nothing wrong with it. And so, we're very happy that, you disclosed and you're living with that.
Despite my best efforts, but you make the best of it. So anyway, I don't want to belabor the point, but if there's anything else you guys need beyond the ribbon campaign,
Can we make it a defer to you to move it?
No, that's fine. I don't care where it
That's
shows in
fine,
minutes.
yeah.
That's fine.
I would like to see this publicized and community members invited and just have it be a bigger
Absolutely.
event. So as we get closer, maybe we can, put out a press release and have some announcements in the paper. Yeah,
Please,
well,
that's what I'm saying.
definitely.
I think just having that open dialogue, just like Ariana and we're having, there's no repercussion, there's no consequence.
Yeah.
And it's just, we have to deal with it.
And also just to add to the awareness so that during the month that the people see the ribbons, the more publicity that they see, the more that they realize why they're there. True, exactly.
Do you think it would be appropriate to put it on our website?
Oh, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, that would be
Actually,
great.
the mayor there, his cousin is actually the executive director of Peoples. So Steve Michio. So he, we were actually, it's interesting. We haven't tied one ribbon yet, and just the outreach, how people are reacting, it's just so favorable, and it's hopeful, and that's what we always have to be, hopeful,
Right.
And I think, Fishkill they made a public resolution, it'll be on their website too. Woodstock, I was just telling Linda, we had last night one of the most amazing, I think, discussions. We had the police chief there, a county legislator there, we had press there, and also the program director for, is it Families of Woodstock? It was teamwork. I mean, they should not be the exception to the rule. In the community, that should be what everybody does, the model. And, it was really, again, very positive. The police chief said that when they hire law enforcement people, it's not only a law enforcement person. They'd have to be a social worker too. And to acknowledge that, I think that's huge, and again, understanding. So, I really, it's exciting because I think people are, accepting it, and finally we're gonna get somewhere. I really feel this, the next 10 years, my daughter, we'll see huge changes, and again, I think the stigma will be eradicated because, 1 in 4, we've already outdid that statistic, and so again, it's really very positive. So I appreciate it if we can get it to a level where, it's just like breast cancer, it's just like Parkinson's, even autism is reached a different level. And
absolutely.
That's a mental illness too, and for some people they don't like depression. I mean, a lot of people have said to me, well, I have depression. Well, you have mental illness. Am I going to treat you any differently? I do see, great hope. But yeah, if we could have that.
If we could scan this poster.
I actually have that as a PDF. Yes, you have that. Yes, I have that as a PDF.
Right, because I got it as a PDF, so I know you do.
Yes. So
not little.
Yes,
we can, and not only that, but when you have your kickoff event, we'll try to get pictures from it to put on the Facebook page and.
Well, what we've been doing, we actually recently have partnered up with MHA, which is like a big deal. Yeah. They've taken us under their wing, so to speak, and we have our ribbon cutting. They gave us an office, so we have a home base. So
that's great.
It's awesome. So we're having a huge ribbon cutting ceremony, and all the mayors, town supervisors that are participating in the ribbon campaign will be invited. Our awareness walk is on the 4th. We want people to come out, in the community to see that, all the agencies, I think, we've realized, we all are not going to have the lack of customers per se, and we're all rowing to the same island, so why not get in the same boat, We're not asking anybody to give up their identity as an organization, because, as everything, nothing's cookie cutter. You go to a store, you may not like Starbucks, you're going to go to Pete's Coffee. You don't like, this hairdresser, you're going to go change. Why would mental health be any different? You see one psychologist, it might not work for you. So, we're really trying to push that. We're not, butting heads. We're really, working together, and, we'll get there faster. And we have seen the last few months, I think agencies are really, really seeing us, NAMI being accepted, our partnership too. It's really amazing. But with, MHA, it's a big thing that, they opened the doors and said, we have resources, but why not another choice for the consumer? Why not? And so, again, a lot of things are happening that are really positive, and we again want to stress that to families, and consumers that things are changing, for the better. And so the more awareness out there, not gonna hurt anybody.
Well, you've got our support for the campaign.
That's
Come back
awesome.
next time you have another one.
You know, it's far enough in advance. You could probably talk to the chronogram. And one of the things that I actually read about in the chronogram, the horoscope guy writes articles every month, and I've read them. And one of them was about how to select a psychologist and how you should go to 4 or 5 and kind of try them on before you pick one. So exactly everything else.
It's
So.
mind-boggling that something so important in your life, you would just kind of give up, or it's not available. So
Right.
absolutely.
But I bet they would do an article on it. So yeah.
But thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you for waiting.
Glad it was worth the wait. Yeah.
It's very interesting. I just realized nothing was happening really in Fishkill.
That's New Paltz for you.
Sally and Tom, remind me, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank you for
Make sure we
coming.
did that. I'll move
All right.
the rest of the consent agenda.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, let's do actually, what do you guys think? Do you think 10:40 and be out of here?
Yep.
Yes.
Do we have any executive session stuff?
The zoning board thing. I don't know if
That's not executive session.
Okay.
But thank you. All right, perfect. Let's aim for 10:40.
I could just very quickly say number 10, the resolution on clean energy. Last time we were here, we had former attorney who was supposed to look at it. There was no changes to it, so if we don't need to discuss anything unless we don't want to do it.
I'll move to
We
adopt
can
it.
have
Second.
No. It's not. You can't adopt it. It doesn't. It's not even pertaining to the village yet.
Oh.
Way to read the packet,
I'm
Jason.
excited. I did. I just didn't.
But so I think what we need to do is either if we want to move forward with it, we need to have Will Frank look at it.
Is the same for 11?
So that's just.
No, 11. I'd like to have a discussion on.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, but let's get 14 done.
So
'cause
he just needs to read.
So I'm just saying we don't need to discuss
We'll
this
pull 10, okay.
except that to send it to Will Frank.
I will
Okay.
actually sign as part of the package.
No, let's go to 14 because Amanda's waiting.
Okay.
Discussion on the police commission that Rebecca requested.
Yes.
So, Rebecca, what is yours?
Yeah, basically everything that Amanda said. I feel that as a board, it is in our interest to express our concerns regarding the police commission. Obviously open for discussion because I haven't discussed the issue with anyone else on the board. I do believe that Ariana, from my conversation with Amanda, is also in favor of seeing that the police commission remain.
Yeah, I mean, I actually went to the public hearing and made a comment, so I could read you all my comment if you would like to hear my thoughts.
Well, let's see.
Why don't we-
Let's take a straw poll. Is there anyone on the board who thinks we should not have a town police commission?
I don't.
You used to be a chair of the town police commission.
That's why I don't think there should be.
All right, one. Tom, do you have?
I don't actually have an opinion, I don't have a strongly held opinion for
Okay.
sure about this. I did not I read the reports on it, I did not attend the meeting, and I didn't find myself startled by the decision, but I never felt badly about there being a police
So you're
commission.
persuadable either way.
Yes,
You're a
yes.
swindler. Okay.
The reason I am in favor of disbanding the current police commission is that I have always been more, in fact, this is how the mayor and I met.
Yeah.
I am
I
in
used to argue
favor
with you.
of a
Argue with you.
I'm in favor of the Civilian Review Board, which was what we all thought it was going to be when we began.
When did it start? You weren't the first chair, were you?
No, George Campbell was.
George Campbell was for years.
George Campbell was the first chair. And I believe that in the ideal world, Amanda, if you are right, that if the police commission reviewed the budget, did in fact was involved in more, well, let me go another way. The police union contract, and I'm sure it has not gotten easier, handles disciplinary action for the most part. So that is, by definition, contractual. 2, the police commission does not present the budget to the town board.
No, the budget's completely controlled by the town board.
Let me tell you, most things in life, Amanda, are about money.
Oh, I know.
Okay? In fact, there's very little that isn't.
I understand.
And if the police commission was in fact preparing the budget, working with the chief on the budget, and was presenting the budget for the police department, that would be one thing. Then I could be convinced. Right now, it seems to me that the police commission, and this is not to despair anybody who serves on it, because it's a tough thing and it's a hard thing. But it really is the buffer so that the town board doesn't have to deal with angry people. I think a civilian review board where the community, if it has legitimate concerns about activities that have occurred in the police department, is very much an appropriate thing, and I think we should urge that kind of activity. But to just be a buffer, I think the town board has to take the responsibility for the police. And I think that's what they're trying to do, and I applaud that. But I do think there needs to be an avenue for the community to have someone that they can go to and talk about police activity that they may feel someone has been a victim of. As I said, that's how the mayor and I first met years and years ago, because there was a problem that really needed to be addressed, and the way the commission was set up could not be addressed in an appropriate way.
That was when we had the civilian police study group. Or was that under Campbell? That was Campbell, yeah, okay.
So as a former police commissioner and as the most recent liaison to the police commission, actually I think I've been the liaison to the police commission the entire time I've been on the village board, I have to
Don't
say
let expertise go to waste.
that only half of what you're saying about the budget is true, because more recently, and this might have not been the case in the past, but as far as I've seen it, which is the last 4 years, the police commission does work very closely with the police chief on the budget. The issue that I agree with you on is that the police commission has not been present at the budget presentation to the town board,
which is rather essential.
But I don't think that we shouldn't have a police commission because they haven't been present at the present. I think they should be there.
I don't think it is doing what the community needs in terms of a civilian review board.
Well, I think in terms of disciplinary action, in terms of hiring new police officers, I think it does function in those ways, and that is part of the rights and duties. And I feel very strongly that that's an important thing. I mean, part of what I said to the town board is, I know very well how busy we are on a village board or a town board, and how many meetings we have to go to and how many things we have to review and scrutinize. And it is, I think, an entire police department is difficult for the town board to take on as well. I don't think they're incapable of doing it, but I think it's great to have a dedicated group of people. And they were working on really awesome things. You know, they had all these little subcommittees where they were working on technology, and the technology of the police department is antiquated, whether it's the computers themselves or the data mining systems, which they were like right at the brink of coming up with like a true proposal of how to be able to do this. And when we're looking at something like Park Point and we say we need to mine the data and come up with numbers of how many calls there are during this time of these days and how many police officers are needed to respond to each one, and we can't physically come up with that data because the data mining programs can't do it, that's a problem. So I feel like the police commission was working on things like that, and that's all some really important stuff. They do evaluations of the police chief, which I think is also important, and they work day to day, with the police chief. They go in and look at all the different, how the evidence is being stored, how firearms are being stored, and make sure that those things are in order as well. Tom.
None of that persuades me that, that something was going on, that good things were happening, does not persuade me that those good things could not be done by somebody else, or that some other system wouldn't work as well. One could maintain that good things will continue going on under the presently proposed system. I don't get that as an argument why there should now be a police commission, rather than that the board, which is choosing to do something it has an absolute right to do, is choosing to do that.
Well, I guess I feel that it's not. Well, when I made my comment, and a lot of these things were more about just repealing this piece of the law as opposed to revisiting it. And so what I had recommended in my comment is that we revisit this and have a more open dialogue about what might work better. If this isn't working for whatever reason, what might work better? And I have not gone and read the state law, as Amanda says she has, and so I don't know what even is possible to work better. But that's really where I'm at in terms of what the village board should recommend, and I would like the village board to be a part of that conversation.
Great.
I know. Rebecca, this is your item. What do you say?
Sure. In regards to what you're saying, Tom, if the police commission, as well as the police department, were essentially under our board, and the police commission were disbanded, I do not feel that as a board we could so readily take on the work that the police commission was engaged.
We have an exact parallel. We are, in addition to the trustees, the board of fire commissioners of the village. Technically, I'm the chief of the fire commission. Right. But we don't engage in the kind of work that Ariana's describing, because there's, for the same reason Ariana and Rebecca said, there's just not enough hours in the day. You've got the competent chief and line officers, and all right, let them do it. So, to one of your points, Tom, I think you're right. One, they have the authority to do it, clearly. Two, you don't know, they could do good work as a town board members, but for me, all the other arguments aside, and they're all good arguments, my first knee-jerk reaction when I heard this was, how can you turn away 7 dedicated volunteers who are... Five dedicated volunteers who are delving deeper into public policy than any board I know of in the town or village, when we can't find enough volunteers to fill our commissions? Like, why turn away the labor? Because I'm convinced that if, or when, that happens, the town board will almost by definition do less than the commissioners because of the time constraints. Because if all you got to focus on is the police department and not the water and sewer and land use and the zoning and if it's all you're looking at, yes, I think you do a better job.
Just as you have a planning board, just as you have a ZBA. And
we could dissolve the planning board and take that on. Right. You're right. All the authority flows from the legislative question, obviously.
Right. So I could be persuaded by Rebecca's point that I would not want to take on that additional responsibility.
Right.
So that to me is a telling point, rather than that there are people doing good work. People are doing good work in lots of other
I mean, I made that point too. I might have just gotten lost in everything else.
Okay. May I ask
Maybe
what
it was the
point of
singularity
discussion
of
is?
focus of
Right.
Rebecca's.
Right. Wait, Rebecca, Sally had a
Go ahead,
question
Sally,
for you.
and then
What is the point of this discussion?
the point of this discussion is the fact that I, for one, feel uncomfortable with the fact that the town is essentially intending to disband the police commission, which is a citizen oversight commission. That's essentially what a police commission is. It has a historical function.
I'm not
Okay.
disputing any of that, Rebecca. I'm saying that I think we would be very offended if the town came and told us how we should be running our business. Now, if you want, just a minute, I think so.
It is our
and
business.
If you want to put a motion on the table that you want this board to go on
Absolutely.
record as supporting the police commission, please do so.
Okay.
But I don't want to sit here and discuss another governmental body.
Thank you.
I'm not dispensing another
No, I'm just
governmental
saying.
body.
Yeah, yes, we are, because we have no jurisdiction. So if you want the board, this board to go on record as being in favor and trying to influence the town board to reverse their decision, please put a motion on the
Okay,
table.
certainly. Can I finish my point?
Yes.
Okay. All right. The citizen oversight aspect of having a police commission, Tom.
Yeah.
One of the inherent structural components that is generally put in place for the Citizen Oversight Commission is that you look to have a turnover in the appointments. They generally have very specific and limited terms. In order for there to be in order to allow for less of a I know I'm not going to put this correctly, but the whole idea is for there not to be for there to be an objective commission where someone does not serve term after term after term, because the idea is if you do serve term after term after term, you become one with the body that you are you have the oversight for.
The Stockholm Syndrome.
Exactly.
And there are people on the police commission who have been on too many terms.
Correctly. And that's one of the things that should also get looked at, and which could be one of the reasons why this is coming up. And I don't feel like we're going into another governmental body's business. It's our business too. If the police is conducting their business in our community, if they represent us, we contribute to their budget, they police our streets, they police our residents, it's our business. There's no way you can say that it isn't. And I would like for our board to make a formal request to the town board to reconsider
the repeal of Chapter 34 of the Town Code?
Yes.
The Police Commission?
Yes.
So is that the formal motion that Sally was looking for?
Yes.
She hasn't said reconsidered what?
Just,
yeah.
I've got
No,
some language if you want.
Yeah.
We almost got one, so let's...
The village board sent a letter to the town board urging them to reconsider the repeal of Chapter 34 of the Town Code regarding the police commission.
Is that Acceptable
That's
to you?
fine, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it does, I don't know if you want to say something further than that.
Hold on,
Or if you just want to say
You're
reconsider.
the only one in the room. You see your hand up.
Amanda,
Because as far as I know, as of yet, the town board has not yet stricken that law from the books.
Right, they have not.
So it wouldn't be so much reconsidering it because they haven't done it yet. And so it's kind of two separate issues. One is striking that law from the books, which is somewhat meaningless because it's still a law under New York State. So even if it
police
wasn't part of
commissions
the
are
town
not
code,
required in New York State.
no, not required, but just
Allowed
like the
for.
town law states, there is, just like the Tenant Landlord Relations Council, is mandates under New York State. So whether or not it's part of town law, it doesn't matter. Any future town board can decide to do it because it's part of New York State law. So there's two separate issues. One is actually taking those laws out of town code and then actually reinstating the police commission.
So
Okay,
maybe
we
what
got
we
it,
want
Amanda, we got it.
Maybe what we want to do instead of reconsider the repeal of Chapter 34 is urge them to.
Not repeal it, or not.
I was gonna say have an open discussion maybe with us, or maybe just with the community
I
about.
don't think we should request that they have an open discussion.
No.
Okay.
We gave away the police department, Ariana. We said to the town.
Right, but we didn't do that. You and I, and we have a lot of police issues that we deal with.
All right, wait. So let's get a motion on the floor.
Okay.
If it passes, it passes.
That's what we're trying to do.
Because we're down
Yes.
to 6 minutes from when we said we wanted to leave.
I never said that.
Well,
I said that.
Okay.
Everyone did. Everyone else did.
I said
What's the motion that you'd like to see voted on?
Okay. This, and in addition to that, we request that the town board continue with the appointment of the town police commission. That's pretty much it. I mean, they're.
Katie, can you read back the motion that we have?
You want to reinstate it?
Reinstate the police, yeah.
Because it's technically been disbanded, it just hasn't been repealed.
Okay.
Read back the motion that we have on the floor right now.
The motion is that for the town board to reconsider the repeal of Chapter 34 of the town code regarding the police commission, and that the village board requests that the town board continue with the appointment of the town police commission.
Is that technically accurate?
And reinstate.
Maybe instead of continue with the appointment, reinstate
the police commission.
The last clarifying question is the issue that they have repealed Chapter 34, or that they are about to?
They're discussing it.
Okay, so it really should say then, request the town board not repeal Chapter 34.
So, send a letter to the town board urging them not to repeal Chapter 34 of the town code regarding the police commission, and to please reinstate the police commission.
Okay, so that's the motion you want?
That's fine, yeah.
So who made it and who seconded it?
Rebecca made it.
Okay.
I second.
Is there any more discussion we need to have on it?
I just want to make one
Please.
comment. I'm not in favor of this, and I think it very peculiar that this board has never, in the wisdom of the ages, which means before all of us, have ever asked for a formal member of the village board to serve on the police commission if we are so concerned.
That would be against the whole idea of a police commission.
No.
We have a liaison.
The town board has a representative on the police.
No, they do not. No, there's a liaison from the town board and a liaison from the village board.
Well,
that's how it is, and I feel like we are the village, and the village board are constituents of the town.
I just want to say that I feel quite uncomfortable with the motion as it is, because I don't feel like I should tell them what to do. I can recommend that they consider something. I don't want them telling me what to do, and I don't want to tell them what to do.
agree.
I guess I don't feel like we're telling them what to do. We're urging them the same way if I called Governor Cuomo's office and urged him to create a statewide ban on fracking. It's the way that constituents speak to their politicians. We sure are their constituents.
We're not acting as constituents.
No, we're not.
We're acting as an elected board of the village. We are not. If you want to hand out a petition that I would sign, that's a very different matter.
But what about the idea that we're having a resolution about keeping a statewide ban on fracking? Like, that's a moratorium on fracking. That's the same thing to the governor's office as this is to the town board.
We didn't vote on the resolution.
No, we didn't, but we've done things like that in the past. We've voted on other things.
Just vote on it.
Okay.
All right.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
I want a roll call, please.
Nay.
Okay, so Mayor West,
Aye.
Deputy Mayor Rotzler,
Aye.
Trustee Basco,
Aye.
Trustee Rhodes,
No.
Trustee Rocca.
No.
Okay.
All right, let's move on.
And I would hope that the letter would reflect that it was not a unanimous vote.
That's fine. We can sign the names
we have 2 minutes.
All right. 2 minutes.
Well, no, we've got. I'm just going to go down the list. 2 minutes to finish the whole thing. 11. Yeah. And we'll do it. Yeah. We're not obviously not leaving in 2 minutes.
Okay.
But let's hew to that as quickly as possible.
So I'm sure all of you saw my email with Will Frank and moving forward on this. Thank you, Tom, for offering to speak with me and landlords. I began making phone calls, but have not had many conversations underway. But I did speak with I did start calling waste haulers in the area just to try to find out prices that they currently go with, and I started creating a list
Can you
of
send
what.
me that when you finish?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to send it to everyone. And so I figured I will continue with this, but one of the big things that Will suggested is to make sure we have public support. So I was thinking that maybe what we could, exactly. And I was hoping that maybe we could do it right before our next village board meeting, not at 7:30, but maybe at 6:30 or at 7, if all of you would be so willing.
You're not at the next one.
Not the next one. The first one in March.
The
first one in March is what I was actually thinking of, because
is there enough time to get publicity out and
between now and the first meeting in March, definitely.
Okay.
If it's a month, yeah.
I'm going to suggest to you, and I'll help you write it up, is to put a survey in the March water bill, because that goes to everybody that owns property that will be paid for garbage.
Well,
so then ascertain whether, one, they use a hauler, two, they support.
The way we could have it be paid for is that everybody pays the way they pay now, and if they haul their own garbage, like Tom, to the dump, you don't have to pay through property taxes, because this won't be paid for through property taxes. People would still sign up as individuals with this one waste hauler. The waste hauler would deal with all the finances, so there'd be no administrative cost to us. And what it is that they would just be locked into a lower price, because everyone in the village that signs up for waste hauling calls this one hauler.
You would have to be able to assure it would be a lower price.
Sally, that's the whole point, is having a contract. Right. And one of the things I would put in the RFP is that if it is found out that anyone is charged a higher price, the contract will be immediately terminated, with a period of time of collection service being continued while we find another waste hauler.
Okay.
I'll work with you on a survey for the water bill.
Do we need any motions? Or?
Do we need a motion to, I don't know if we need a motion to have a public forum before our first meeting in March.
You want a second?
Okay.
All right.
Second, yeah.
All right, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Can we do the 25-mile speed limit next meeting?
Rebecca?
That's fine.
Okay, table that. You want it, really?
Yeah, do we have, I'm in favor
It's
of
already
this.
past time that we...
I'm going to move to authorize the village pay 50% of the mayor's...
Wait, hold on, Sally, hold on. Let me run the meeting here. Hold on a second.
Isn't that where we are?
No, because we haven't decided to table anything yet.
Oh, I thought we did.
Yeah, no. Ariane, do we really need to talk about this right now? Is it critical that it happened now rather than in 2 weeks?
Yeah.
She's not going to be here in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it was discussed at the Safe Routes to Schools meeting today, and I told them we were talking about it tonight.
So let's put it off until.
I just want to know what needs to be done. If we need to get DOT approval, do we know anything like that?
It's just a local law.
It's just a local law, so let's have the local law written and be able to set up.
Doesn't DOT control the speed limit on all of the state roads?
But the side roads would be 25.
We're talking about village.
Okay, only
specific.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So well, don't we want to do DOT also? DOT controlled roads, Main Street.
Okay, here's the thing. This is where we get into troubles. Having not enough information at the table to finish the conversation.
I'm stating my questions, so perhaps we can take these questions and have answers to them for the next discussion.
Okay.
All right, I'm done.
Rebecca, what do you want to do?
That's
Can we
fine.
table this?
Yeah. Do you want to table it until you get back?
I don't need to be a part of the discussion. I'm in favor of this.
Okay.
All right, so we'll
I'd like
table.
to see it done on all roads.
Now, you're right. So we know. Okay, so we know some of the questions to be asked. We can table this till our next meeting.
Okay.
Actually, I'd like to.
In the stages too.
Should we, I was just going to do an up or down vote on this cell phone thing because it's not rocket science. It's just, I don't think there's much to discuss yet. But you proposed.
I was going to propose that we reimburse 50% of your personal phone bill, and that you properly submit the vouchers required for reimbursement.
Well, this is something I also felt we didn't have enough information on, which I guess I should have said this sooner, but there was no numbers included, just 80%. There was no number of what the bill is, or any itemized list with calls highlighted that are village calls.
Well, he has to, in order to be paid 50%, he has to submit his telephone bill.
Right, but I think that would have been nice for us to see before we vote. Especially since we already took a vote about granting a village cell phone.
It's.
Well,
all right, well, I guess this is.
The issue before was.
It's the principle, it's not the details. We've never asked this about any other employee, even though 5 of them have cell phones, and they don't have other cell phones, by the way. It's just a cell phone. You use it. I was asked to provide a figure for as a proposal. I figured 80% only because most of the calls I get on this phone are for work. So I don't. It's not, like I said, it's not a big debate. It's standard. It's fairly common. You either want to do it or you don't. We used to do it. The village did it for years.
That's not the issue, Jason. The issue is you don't want to have 2 cell phones. So the question is how, because we said we'd give you a village cell phone.
Right.
Which is impractical and would be
Which you said was impractical.
Right.
So, you're proposing
Susan has 2 cell phones.
I've looked, and
It's still
when
impractical because I've been using this for politics for 15 years.
when municipalities do this, if you're going to keep your personal cell phone, they reimburse 50%, which is what I'm proposing. 50%. But I don't know whether, the last time we discussed it, people wanted that phone number on the website, which you objected to.
Because I have an office phone.
So
I'm just trying to get back to what used to be when I was there last.
used to be doesn't count.
All right,
I'm proposing 50% reimbursement. You must submit your bills.
Right.
And the telephone number probably should be on the website.
It will never be on
I'm
the
open
website.
for that. That's the second motion by somebody else. I am just moving what I moved.
Tom and Rebecca, what are your thoughts on it?
Is there a second?
Fine, I'll second it. But I'd like to hear what Tom and Rebecca think. If they think 100%, then that's could be a different conversation.
Should you really be seconding this if you're directly financially affecting it?
Sure.
I'll second.
So
you second it for the purposes of the discussion?
Yes.
Okay. Tom second.
Tom and Rebecca, what's your thoughts on this? Is it a reasonable request?
I'm not, I would have liked you to accept the second phone. That's what I would like. That's what I think is the most reasonable. It's not that another proposal is not possible. That I think would be the most reasonable.
I'll tell you, in the next 18 months, I'm not gonna because I'll get calls for the village on this because the number's still out there, and I'm not gonna tell them to hang up. I'll hang up and then pick up, call them on another.
Absolutely certain that's the case.
Yeah. That's what I mean by impractical.
I'm just like, I have, as CEO of two organizations, had a cell phone that I used all day, all night. I used it. The vast majority of my calls were business calls. So I would not be opposed to that in principle. We're in a different situation than I was in. We're an elected body of people guarding the constituents' money. And so we tend to be more parsimonious. And
with certain things, yeah.
Yeah, and so I was, as I said already, I would have been happiest with you to have a cell phone.
Right.
And to have it for, all of your business use.
Sure.
So I would not have stinted on that at all. So I don't know if I have much to choose between, saying, oh, Sally's point is, which I've never heard before, by the way, that it's done in other places where 50% is.
Yeah, I don't know that. Think of it this way, this machine is being used for public business, whether the village board votes against this or not.
Yes.
And in the same way that we pay mileage if you use your personal vehicle for public business, and the mileage rate is actually more than the wear and tear in a car. So I'm not, not asking for the full thing. It's a matter of it'd be nice if the community reimbursed me something for using my personal bill for their business. That's the bottom line. So
Jason, you're going the wrong direction, I think. We've offered you a free cell phone for
that will not
business,
work.
which you don't want. That is very different than being reimbursed for using your personal car. It's just not on the same ballpark. I'm looking for some way that will help you, and yet is not what we ideally want.
Right.
What we ideally want is for you to have a cell phone for the village business. You don't want to do that. The real question then becomes, will we reimburse you 50% for this and you will put your number on the website? Because if you're using it for public business, and I'm paying you to use it for public business, then the phone number has to be public.
Absolutely.
Can I speak to that, please?
Yes, thank you.
I completely object to having a cell phone number on the public website.
Yours is.
I can see having, the thing is, it's to have, he has to answer the phone 24/7, period.
Yeah.
He has to. If Blue's calling, I can turn my phone off. I can send it to voicemail. I can do whatever I want, okay? He can't. He cannot. If someone is calling, he doesn't know if it's Blue, he doesn't know if it's Katie,
Rebecca,
he doesn't know if it's an emergency.
That's not what we're discussing. We're willing to give him a cell phone. Okay? You're trying to twist it now.
Yeah, that's the thing is you can store numbers, you can get text messages. If it's Blue calling from an unknown number and it's 2 a.m., like, I'm not answering this call in case it's some drunk college kid who looked on the village website and is calling me right now. Whatever you want to say, whoever could be calling you, you don't have to answer it 24/7 unless you know that it's somebody who you have to answer the call from 24/7. The same way you use your phone right now. You don't answer any call 24/7. You answer Blue's call or Nancy's call or like emergency calls 24/7. So a village cell phone would operate the same way. And I like the idea of the village cell phone because I agree that you should have a village cell phone. That's why I voted in favor of that. And then it is the mayor's cell phone. It is not Jason's cell phone, and it gets passed on to whoever is mayor, and it's the same phone number, and that is a village-owned phone number.
Actually, I'm looking at the village website right now, and the only phone number I see listed on the village board page is Jason's office phone number.
None of you put your home numbers on. None of you put your personal numbers on the village website.
It's given out though.
Actually, if someone calls the clerk's office and says, I would like to speak to Sally, I don't give them your home phone number. I say to them, I'd be delighted to take your number and have Sally give it to Sally. And
Well, I don't approve of that because I'm an elected official and I should be accessible.
Yeah, I'm happy to put my home phone number on the
Mine could go
website.
on the
I
website.
don't know if I want mine on, but I get calls from all sorts of people anyhow.
Yeah, the thing is, my home phone number is, you could Google it. If somebody wants to call me, they can look me up in the white page.
So I've offered to compromise. If people don't like it, don't vote for it.
All right, so the first motion was to pay 50% of the phone bill, and that was seconded.
And that means that you submit the bill then.
Yeah, the same billing process for anybody. Yeah.
You have to just.
All right, so let's just end this conversation. All in favor of that proposal?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
And I abstain for obvious reasons. All right, thank you.
Now, should the number be on the website?
Right. Does someone have a second for that? Because I'm not sure you have the legal authority
I'll second.
to enforce that. Actually, I'll find out later.
Did you make the motion?
No one made the motion.
I did. I made the motion.
Oh, you made the motion. Did someone second?
I'll second.
If we're going to do this,
Okay.
it has to be on the website.
No. Well, that's your personal opinion, and that's why we're voting.
But that's
Yeah.
the motion.
Yeah, I've since I already have an office number that people call, and that is public and has been public for decades.
I'm
I think
paying
it's-
half the bill, Jason. I just.
So should we have Blue's cell phone number up there? And
Sure.
it's
It's a village phone, for God's sake.
all right. So all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay.
All right, motion fails.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't.
Sorry that was such a hard conversation. I wish I knew a way to make it smoother.
Well, at least
All right.
somebody's dealt with.
Yeah, all right. I move that we adopt the 2% law.
Second.
Any discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
The presentation done. All right, and last is, I guess, sad news and good news at the same time, Sally, yes?
Yes.
Chairman Carl Budman of the Zoning Board of Appeals is looking to retire from the position after 30 years?
30 years. You know better than I.
84 or 85 is appointed, so almost 30 years. Longest serving volunteer, except for Link Igood, who I think had a longer record.
Well, we can't. He's around
He's
the
around
ass,
anymore.
so.
But anyway, so Carl Budman likes to say he was appointed by Mayor Vett. And since nobody knows what that means, except for Sally was here, that means that Carl Budman served under he was appointed by 6 consecutive mayors.
What it means.
Mayor Vett, there was one mayor for 6 months when Mayor Vett died, like his name I can't remember, who was the first woman mayor? Mayor Remsnyder,
Yep.
then Mayor Nyquist, then myself, then Mayor Duncan, and
Then you again.
and me again. So we're gonna do something for Carl. But he has been grooming his replacement. He's been thinking about it a lot, and he recommends, and I am going to appoint and ask the board's consent and permission to appoint Katie Silberger as our new chair of the ZBA. Is there any? All in favor?
Aye.
So good. Thank you, and goodbye, and thank you for your service, Chairman Budman, and welcome, Chairman Silberger. You've got Chairwoman Silberger. You've got enormous and fairly short shoes to fill.
But I want people to know that Carl is going to stay on as a member because his institutional memory and experience is invaluable. And I, as the liaison to the ZBA for this board, want to say that I've never met a finer person, a more caring person for this community, and one who has served with great dignity and diligence, and thank you,
And
Carl.
always ecumenical, I think. He embodies that complicated word. But did you say, Sally, he was remaining, you mean
Yes.
remaining
As a member.
as a member? So I'd like to appoint Carl Butman to
Second.
fill the vacancy left by Katie Silverberg.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there
And maybe
anything?
That we
move a
adjourn.
resolution
I'll
of
withdraw that.
tremendous thanks. and dedication.
Let's draw one up. Have it
We
done
will,
right.
but I want this to be in the minutes.
Okay,
tonight.
so please,
Yes.
I suggested.
anyway, we'll figure it out. So your motion, Sally? Your motion?
Is to formally, for this board to resolve to thank Carl Budman for his years of service to this community, and that we accept his resignation with great gratitude and thanks.
I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Go, go, go.
I move that we adjourn.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
See, only 20 minutes past our deadline.